welcome to the show from Common Room Radio. I'm Sarah K. Bazan, and children. I work with children.
I'm Alistair Stevens, and I miss the days when one's biggest concern was exploding wind-up penguins.
I'm Vinton Bain, and it's really cool that you guys seem ready to do battle and stuff, but I've never done battle. I've just pushed some people and run away.
And this week, we're talking about the Justice League movie.
We sure are.
Yay!
After weeks and weeks and weeks of build-up, weeks of, well, fear and trepidation, now we've all seen it.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not going to spoil the Justice League movie, if the Justice League movie can, in fact, be spoiled. We're not going to spoil it just yet. We will eventually, but we're going to spend the first, 15, 20 minutes of this podcast talking about it in general terms, so that if you haven't yet seen it, you can make up your mind and go see it. Or not. That's your call. Sarah, what did you make of the Justice League movie?
The Justice League movie is the stupidest movie I've ever seen that I walked out of quite enjoying.
That is spectacularly where I am. Surprisingly and astonishingly where I am. Vinton, how do you feel about Justice League?
I think my first comment when leaving the theater was I could fill a whole notebook with things I hated about this film. There were so many things I hated, but I had a good time somehow. So
yeah, it's because we saw it together.
Myself.
Yeah.
You could color code the list of things that you hate about this movie. It could fall into categories of, well, this isn't like the comics. Well, this is just dumb. Well, this is poorly executed. Well, this is outright objectionable.
Yes.
This doesn't even make sense.
I kind of left the movie in a really good mood and kind of want to watch it again. And I'm actually pretty excited for a Justice League sequel, which is weird.
Yeah.
Here's the situation. Like, I think that I know, Alistair, that like prior to seeing this film, you kept talking about how like you felt pretty good about it. You were optimistic. You know, you were kind of looking forward to it. I kept saying that I had no hope for this film, that it was already dead on arrival. This movie was to me. My expectations were so low. They were in like a subterranean tomb to the old ones. Is how low they were. And so this movie beat those very, very low expectations.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Plus, you were going into it with maybe a little spark of hope because of Gal Gadot, because of Wonder Woman, because you love that movie and love that character and love that performance.
That I fully anticipated that was going to be the only thing I enjoyed about the entire film. And also Amy Adams. I quite like Amy Adams. She holds a very special place in my heart. I always love anytime she's on screen. I think she always does an amazing job. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I was here for the women, but not in the way that the movie made the women there for people to be there for the women.
Yeah, that's a little uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about that as we move through the breakdown.
Hoo boy, the male gaze.
It turns out that we've accumulated a number of VHSs here on the studio table.
We sure have.
I have the Region 1 VHS.
I got the Region 2.
Great. Do you want to go first? Shall I go first? Shall we rock, paper, scissors? Shall we Martha, Hippolyta?
Well, I don't know if we can Martha.
No,
Hippolyta.
wait, you got to do a gruff off. All right, whichever one of you can say Martha in the gruffest way, and I will be the judge.
You can be the arbiter.
I thought
of
you
this.
meant like gruff, like facial hair, and I was like, oh, my upper lip's been CGI'd, so I'm not going to win this
weird
competition.
and fleshy. Like it might just
no,
come
it
and
doesn't
touch
look
you.
fleshy enough is the problem. It looks weird and flat. It's
very
bad.
It looks like Mario's skin on the N64 when you could pull it in different directions on the start screen.
God. Okay, Alistair, give me your gruffest Martha.
Martha!
That's pretty good, actually. Okay, Vinton?
Martha!
Okay, well, I guess we're doing Region 2 VHS first.
All right, let's do it.
Almost 10 years into the contemporary comic book film era, we finally present you with the original superhero team. Can Batfleck and our gal, Gadot, recruit Wally West pretending to be Barry Allen and an angry ball of tinfoil to resurrect zombie Superman and save the world from a generic PlayStation 3 video game boss? Find out in Team Wonder Woman, the Joss Whedon Extra Jokes cut.
That was very good. That was all very, very good. Yes.
Oh, that's better than mine. I just picked a direction and went with it. It's the superhero team-up movie we've been waiting for. Grumpy Iron Man joins forces with female Captain America to recruit High School Vision, Underwater Thor, and yet another version of Quicksilver to prevent the dollar store Thanos and his army of insectoid sub-Ultrons from using the Bifrost to recover, let's say, 3 Infinity Stones and something the end of the world. If our heroes can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure they'll avenge it. Or at least figure out whose mom is most called Martha. In DC's marvelous superhero crossover event of the year, Justice League, Superman is really dead, you guys. Pinky swear.
I don't know what I love more, High School Vision or Underwater Thor.
Underwater
Those
Thor,
are both
I have
very
to say,
good.
is my favorite. I'm also super into the idea of underwater Thor, so yeah.
This movie has my least favorite version of Quicksilver.
I want to keep resetting this conversation because I know that as we discuss this film, we're going to say over and over again how much we hate it. And yet, yes, we did all leave the theater in a good mood, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I want to
enjoy what there was to enjoy.
Like, I want us to be careful. I don't want this, like, episode of our podcast, because we try really hard to be positive, right? Like, the world is a freaking dumpster fire 24/7 now, just all the time. And so I think that it's really important that whenever you're creating art and creating content, that you should be putting, like, good things out into the world. And so, like, yes, we enjoyed this movie, but this is one of those times where I think that we're really going to be able to delve into the discussion of, like, this is problematic AF.
Yeah.
I still liked parts of it, though. So I think that that's really what we're going to be focusing on. We don't just want to sit here and be like, guys, this movie friggin' sucks. Because, like, I wouldn't say it friggin' sucks. I would say it's a really dumb, bad movie.
In parts, I think there are things about it that I genuinely like. There are things about it that I would genuinely hold up and respect the hell out of. I don't like this movie as much as I like Wonder Woman, but I like it quite a lot. I don't like it that much less than I like Wonder Woman, honestly. Because you know what? Wonder Woman, also a movie that maybe doesn't hold up to careful scrutiny. After the fact.
Yeah.
So let's do some quick background on this movie, unless we have any other like primer thoughts on Justice League.
I said it jokingly earlier, but seriously, I think my biggest complaint about this movie is Who Boy the Male Gaze. Completely unnecessary and very, very frustrating made me so mad. So mad in the theater watching this movie. Yeah.
I do want to ask, we usually ask this question. This is something we kind of went over. What has been your experience with the Justice League in the past? Where did you first come across the Justice League?
Yeah. For me, it would have been like the JLA cartoon. And I guess also, I mean, like, does Super Friends count?
Nope, definitely counts.
Yeah, so
Defo
like
counts.
I've been aware of the Super Friends, I guess, my entire life.
Yeah.
And I think that that's but I've never read a comic, never saw like a full-length animated feature film or whatever, just the cartoon. And I liked it all right.
Kind of where I am, and not even that much of the cartoon, honestly. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever read a continuing run of JLA or any of the myriad spin-off Justice League titles. It's not a team that I'm particularly interested in, though I do love the idea of the Trinity. Like the notional idea of the Trinity at the heart of the DC, that you've got Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman kind of representing some kind of Freudian, Jungian archetypal thing. I'm kind of into that. But no, the Justice League's never really worked for me. Vinton, how much Justice League have you read?
Yeah, almost none, actually, surprisingly. Being a lifelong Batman fan with a lot of exposure to DC Comics, I've read quite a bit of DC Comics, but I never have delved into them as a team aspect, just seeing them, crossover here and there. Most of mine is just like Sari, coming from the 90s Justice League animated cartoon and then the Super Friends cartoon. That being said, I've always really wanted to read more Justice League, especially Justice League International from the 80s, where the team had Mr. Miracle, Blue Beetle, and Dr. Fate, among others. That particular lineup always seemed amazing to me. I've heard really good things.
Very interesting.
Here is everything I know about Blue Beetle. He's on my husband's wallet.
Your husband is a fan.
My husband is a fan. Sure. Yes, he's got Booster Gold and Blue Beetle on his wallet.
So Justice League was directed by Zack Snyder, of course, known for 300, known for Watchmen, known for Sucker Punch, and known for a whole bunch of desaturated, grimdark DC movies. It was written by Chris Terrio and Joss Whedon. Terrio worked on Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and is working.
Oh my God, that movie did have a freaking subtitle, didn't it?
Dawn of Justice? Hell yeah, it did.
Wow, I always forget.
And he's working on the upcoming Star Wars Episode 9, which is, as of this moment, untitled. I'm kind of into that idea. I think there are huge problems with this story. The script itself, though, is actually interesting. I can't distinguish exactly what it is that I like about Terrio's writing at this point, because, of course, the script was co-written by Joss Whedon, who I guess isn't that famous, but we can go through some of his obscure IMDb credits, like Buffy and Angel and Dollhouse and Firefly and Dr. Horrible, a little flick called The Avengers, Cabin in the Woods, Serenity, Avengers Age of Ultron. We're kind of indifferent to the works of Joss Whedon here on the Excelsior
absolutely.
podcast.
We don't have a picture of the Serenity hanging up on the wall immediately behind you. No, not at all. We didn't do an entire Firefly podcast.
There were a few lines in this movie that really stood out to me as Joss Whedon lines. There were a few scenes that really stood out to me as Joss Whedon scenes. Were you guys conscious of that as you were watching the film?
Oh, absolutely.
Very
that tonal shift
They
was
stuck out
stark.
like the sorest of thumbs. Yeah, absolutely.
So you didn't feel that was, in some sense, the heart of the movie?
No, absolutely Absolutely not. Are you kidding? Are people saying that? Oh no.
I wanted to believe that was the case.
No, sweetie. No.
Yeah, they do feel a little bit layered in, don't they?
Yeah.
It's another one of the reasons why this movie feels like it's like 7 individual movies that don't fit together.
Oh my gosh, it really is,
boy.
right? Oh man.
To a huge degree. More on that when we cross that spoiler line. The music for this movie came to us from Danny Elfman, who is best known, of course, for Scrooged and Sleepy Hollow and Spy Kids and 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, he also did Nightmare Before Christmas and Batman Returns and Dick Tracy and Edward Scissorhands and all Tim Burton things and a million other things besides, and we like him very much.
He's
and the
not going to let you forget that he did the Batman 1989 movie every time Batman shows up on the screen and he plays that theme that he wrote that he made so iconic.
I thought it was pretty good. How did you guys feel about the orchestrated Wonder Woman theme song?
That was fun.
I liked it. Yeah, I actually liked, I think, pretty much all the music.
Yeah, I don't think I had a problem with any of the music.
He even pulled in the old Superman movie music, so I thought that was
there
cool.
were a couple moments there.
He did a lot of nods in there that I really do appreciate.
I mean, that's what you have to do in this sort of thing, right?
Well, yeah, it's what you have to try to do.
Yeah.
I would argue that Danny Elfman was way more successful than the cinematography of the film was.
Oh, absolutely.
In kind of hybridizing all of these different approaches to the material in hand. Plans for a Justice League movie have been rolling around Hollywood since 2007, 2 years after Batman Begins, the year before The Dark Knight. That was when they thought, hey, but Justice League, though, that would be great.
Wow.
Nothing came of those plans. The Justice League concept was dealt a major blow following the catastrophic performance of the Green Lantern movie in 2011.
I do want to pause there for a second because this 2007 Justice League film that could have been was going to be created by George Miller, who is known for having created the whole Mad Max franchise. And it would have just been completely different. There's specifically 3 of his actors that he was going to hire that I wanted to point out. He did have a whole list of them, and I could go through that, but there's 3 specifically that I want to point out.
They basically had the whole thing cast, right?
Yes, they absolutely did.
Oh my God, this is my favorite game. Okay.
Model Megan Gale, who you might know as the girl who was the naked girl in the tower in Fury Road.
Yep.
Oh.
She was going to be Wonder Woman.
Huh.
The approach here was that I think he's quoted as saying that he wanted to cast younger, unknown actors or relatively unknown actors because he wanted them to grow into their roles over the course of many movies. Because,
that makes a lot of sense.
Not lacking in ambition, George.
Right.
Armie Hammer was going to be Batman. I'm not too familiar with him outside of his name, but Armie Hammer was going to be Batman.
I'm actually quite a fan, and yes, he has the physique, he has the presence. You know, if Christian Bale can do it, if Ben Affleck can do it, then Armie Hammer could definitely have done it. Yeah.
His name is Armie Hammer. I think he can do whatever he wants.
That's surely true. The one I think was the best was rapper Common was going to be cast as Green Lantern by the Jon Stewart version of Green Lantern.
Love that idea.
That's
would have been so cool. The one that I want to talk about the most here is Aquaman, Arthur Curry, was going to be played by Santiago Cabrera, who you might know as Toe Cutter from the old Mad Max films, or Immortan Joe from the newest one.
Wow.
Immortan Joe would have been Aquaman.
I mean, yes.
Sarah's having problems.
It's a different direction to go, but not like a completely different direction.
No.
You can see the through line there. That makes a lot of sense.
He's more of like an Odin. Aquaman there.
Oh, man.
I'm not against that idea.
No, that would have been cool.
Because I really love Jason Momoa. And now
Oh my God. Okay,
in the back of my mind, like, though.
You know how I walked out of Thor and I was like, oh, wait, dudes also, though? Jason Momoa did that for me in this movie.
Holy smoke.
Good Lord. I mean, like, then you were there with me. Didn't I literally, like, melt into my chair and onto the theater floor when he was shirtless in the water? By the way, why the fuck is Blake Shelton the sexiest man alive? What is wrong with our planet?
I think People magazine maybe wanted to, raise some controversy and sell a lot of magazines.
Yep.
Who buys that magazine?
That was the problem.
Who were outraged about Blake Shelton.
Yep, that was the problem that led them to do that.
Guys, you did it bad. You were supposed to not buy the magazine.
So that plan faltered because, in part, of the failure of the Green Lantern movie, and in part because Christian Bale wasn't terribly interested in doing a Justice League movie. Then, in 2013, the entire DC Cinematic Universe was rebooted with Man of Steel, which was successful enough that plans for Justice League were set in motion again. David S. Goyer, who wrote Man of Steel and had worked on the Nolan Batman trilogy, was hired to write the script. That script was rewritten by Chris Terrio, and the movie turned out to be Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, released in 2016. That leads us into the Justice League movie, which was originally conceived as a 2-part story, just like Avengers Infinity War. There was going to be a Justice League Part 1, Justice League Part 2, Avengers Infinity War Part 1, Avengers Infinity War Part 2, both reset. No. Actually, a 2-part superhero blockbuster movie is a terrible idea, you guys.
Yes.
So instead, we'll just kind of hatchet the movie right at the midpoint. and hopefully it'll work out. I'm judging that entirely based on Justice League and maybe not so much on Infinity War, but we'll see how that works out. It doesn't make me terribly hopeful, I have to say. I really want there to be 2 Avengers movies that kind of function as 2 separate movies. But
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about antagonists and what do you do with bad guys with this much power when we get there, I guess.
Yeah. So this movie was, as we said, directed by Zack Snyder, about whom I'm sure we'll have a thing or two to say as we move through our discussion. He left the production, though, in May of 2017 following the death of his daughter. He handed over the reins of the post-production process to Joss Whedon, who had already rewritten some of the scenes in Chris Terrio's original script. Whedon then edited the movie together, as well as directing extensive reshoots. They spent $25 million of the $300 million budget for this movie. That is more than twice the amount you would expect for a movie of this budget and this stature for reshoots. It does explain too why there are some really shaky shots right in the middle of this movie that were obviously done on a very tight budget.
Yes.
There are some really weird green screen moments in this movie where we obviously couldn't return to the set, but we really wanted, a quippy line. We really wanted that Whedon comedy.
It's also worth mentioning that this film was given the say from the higher ups that it had to be 2 hours or shorter.
Yes.
And so it got a lot of cuts. And there are moments in this movie where you feel like they're about to explain things and they just cut to the next thing and never explain it to you because they ran out of time.
I am genuinely curious what the DVD release of this movie will look like. I am going to buy this because I like it well enough that I'm going to buy it and watch it 2 or 3 more times anyway. But I really want to buy it because I want to see if there is some kind of Batman versus Superman style Ultimate Edition that runs for 3.5 hours and just has a ton more material.
I bought BVS for that exact reason.
Exactly
this is
right.
better than BVS.
And everybody I know says that the Ultimate or like the extended edition of BVS is so much better than the theatrical release.
It's a little bit better.
Oh.
Yeah.
It is definitely better.
Yes.
Definitely better. Well, you know what? It's definitely
Not
better.
yet good, but still, yes. It's
It took it from like 20% to 30%.
Oh.
It leans into the great strength of Batman versus Superman, which is that it is mythic, that it is epic, that it is melodramatic, and that it is just way over the top in every conceivable direction. There's also a campaign happening on Twitter right now for Zack Snyder's original cut, quote unquote, whatever the hell that means. Zack Snyder didn't have an original cut of this movie.
He didn't do the cutting of
It wasn't
the film.
finished.
Yeah.
But I guess some people out there who object to what Joss Whedon did to their superhero story want a Zack Snyder cut. I can't imagine we're ever going to get that.
What are
I can't
they-
imagine
what are
that Warner is
they
ever going to allow
I
that
don't
to
want to get
happen.
controversial here, but my feeling for those people is that they're upset that the movie wasn't what they wanted to, and Joss Whedon's an easy person to blame for that.
I think you're entirely right.
It's not actually that they hate what Joss Whedon did to the film.
There is some of that, that tonal difference, that textual difference as you're moving through that feels a little weird and a little disjointed, though. Yeah, this is a movie that an edit is not going to save this film.
No,
It's
absolutely not.
Definitely not. Another hour might do some good. It might,
Another
at least you'll get
director
more.
might do
Possibly
something
another
nice.
director. Hey, let's bear that in mind as we move toward the sequel to Justice
Hey, you
League.
guys, Wonder Woman had a great director. Maybe give her some more
Oh my
work.
God, if they had put Patty Jenkins in charge of Justice League.
Hopefully, we'll learn a lesson from this and maybe make better choices
You know
in the
we
future.
won't.
We just won't.
I don't know. The response, the commercial response to Justice League has not been that impressive. Expectations were revised downward after its opening night, then revised downward again after its opening weekend. Of course, it's going to make its money back. Of course, it's going to be an enormously lucrative property for Warner, but
It's not what they wanted.
Not to the degree that they wanted. Which I would hope, like in any other industry, that would lead to a reconsideration of what we're doing.
Yes.
And should we be doing this thing and should be handed over to people who are perhaps more skilled?
Right.
But
no, you know what they're going to do?
Historically, that's not the case.
I know exactly what's going to happen is that all of the higher ups are going to be like, well, people just don't want superhero movies anymore. That is literally, we're going to see like 18 articles in the next few months.
Here's what's
that
going to
say exactly
happen.
that.
They're just going to go around to Sony and be like, hey, Marvel, will you make our movies?
I would
The
like
Justice
that
League
very
film
much.
brought to you by Marvel.
Oh my Lord.
Marvel just insists they edit out all of the Iron Man sucks references.
They'll just put a bunch more in because they'll just get people to go see the Iron Man movies.
Let's run through our main cast here. God, you guys, there are a million people in this movie.
There's so many
We're not going to
people.
talk about all of them because we've talked about most of them in the past. Ben Affleck as Batman and Bruce Wayne. We're just going to do a quick roundtable
That sounds
on
great.
each
Yep.
of these. Sarah, tell me what you thought of Batfleck.
I thought he did a fine job. I am uncertain about the man as a human being, Ben Affleck. However, performance as Bruce Wayne
That's
slash
an asterisk
Batman.
that we could put next to a lot of people involved in the
Oh
production
boy,
of this
isn't
movie.
it?
Oh yeah.
Can we just do like a full-on asterisk right now? There are understood asterisks throughout?
Yes.
Okay.
The asterisks are implied. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. His performance as Bruce Wayne slash Batman, I thought it was fine. I enjoyed him. I think I chuckled a few times. That's great. Cool.
I feel like he was written really well in this film, but I don't think his heart was as in it as it was in BVS, because I actually liked his acting better in BVS. And I think that's because of, and I'm stealing this joke from somebody else, he's basically Schrodinger's Batman. Is he into the role? Is he not into the role? We don't know. He apparently wants out real bad, and we don't know what he's going to be doing in for the future.
According to some accounts, he wants out. According to other accounts, he's still pitching to direct the Batman movie. We just have no idea. But
it's a roller coaster.
I liked him. Well, as I've said before, he's kind of my Batman, which is weird. He's kind of my live action Batman. And I thought he was good in this. I liked his physicality. I liked his presence, even though it's inconsistent with many of the other characters that we get. Let's talk about Gal Gadot. Can we talk about Gal Gadot?
Yes,
she's
please,
extraordinary.
forever and all
Sarah,
eternity.
did you like her? Was she all right? Did she do okay with the material presented to her?
She's a literal goddess. I don't know what you want from me. I thought that she was fantastic. I thought she was amazing. I thought she was beautiful. God male gaze. Still thought that she was, loved it, loved her.
Another giant asterisk. This one, though, not her fault, which
not
is nice.
her fault,
Did this performance feel continuous to you? Did it feel like an extension of what we saw in the Wonder Woman movie?
I will say mostly, and I don't know if I'm going to be alone here, but I love Gal. I think she's an amazing actress. I don't think there was anything wrong with what she did, but I could tell a difference, and I think it's in the direction.
I think it's in the direction of the writing.
Her and Patty have this great relationship.
Yes.
And the way that the chemistry is the word I'm looking for. This great chemistry. And I don't think that follows through into this film. And you can tell just slightly. It's not bad, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
No, I'm inclined to agree. There was a great deal of confidence from the Wonder Woman movie in Gal Gadot's performance. They just gave her space. Patty Jenkins gave her space to play the role and to do the thing. And it doesn't hurt, I think, that in Wonder Woman we just got longer shots, longer sequences. She was allowed to, act.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's so much less of that from everyone in this movie.
Yes,
it's just more frantically cut and frantically
Quip
edited.
and move on. Quip and move on.
Exactly. Or punch and move on. Yeah. One of those two things.
Punch and then
quip
quip
or punch.
and then move.
What's it going to be?
Both.
You have to choose right now.
Both.
What are you? The Flash, played by Ezra Miller. Let's talk about him for a little bit. I loved him. I thought he was great.
I thought he
love
did really
Barry
well,
Allen.
yeah.
Barry Allen is my Flash. I'm very old school in that regard. Sarah, how much have you seen of the CW Flash series?
Approximately 3.5 minutes.
How much did you miss Grant Gustin in this movie? Is that enough to form an opinion on the CW version of the Flash?
This is going to answer your question. Is that the guy that plays the Flash?
Yeah, that's the guy who plays the Flash.
Okay, I
All
don't
right,
know.
I'll pivot that question to Vinton in
Thanks,
just a
that's
moment.
good, yeah.
What did you make of Ezra Miller?
He was the most Xander Wash character in the entire movie.
I feel as though he got most of the Whedon rewrite.
He absolutely did. No, he is like our Joss Whedon funny guy in this movie, which is fine. It's totally fine. Like, not a problem. Totally okay. I thought he was cute. I thought he was good. I thought he did a good job.
God knows we needed a funny character in this movie.
Yes.
Vinton, what did you make of Ezra Miller? What do you make of so many flashes? So many flashes
so many
right now.
flashes.
Too many flashes. Too many beautiful
as much
flashes.
As Grant is my Flash for live action, I don't think he would have fit in the film. I think it just would have felt weird to have him there. I think that the Ezra Miller does a perfectly fine job here as Wally West. I feel like this is not Barry Allen.
You're
Barry
right.
Allen is a more serious, smart character, whereas Wally's the goofy one, and we definitely get the goofy Flash here.
That's absolutely fair.
To the point where he's a bit socially inept and feels like he might belong on the cast of The Big Bang Theory. In some instances.
I read that as absolutely deliberate. The joke that he has, a minor spoiler, I guess, the joke that he has when he first meets Ben Affleck's Batman, about his second favorite chair, that is actually a Big Bang Theory joke.
Oh, I did not know that.
Which I took to mean.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of the indications that maybe, yes, he's on the spectrum somewhere. I just don't know what to make of that.
His whole joke leading after that as he talks to Bruce, it really made me think that. And to the point where I just thought of this sitting here, it's weird that we have a character who literally lives in the water, and yet the Flash is the one that seems like a fish out of water as a person. He seems like he doesn't understand social norms or people or anything.
You know,
he seems like Thor in Thor's first movie, kind of.
Watches Rick and Morty, I guess. We learned that from his introductory shot, too.
I appreciated that.
Tells you everything you need to know. I really enjoyed his performance. I really enjoyed the character of Vinton. I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely on the money that he is a Wally West striving to become a Barry Allen, which is an interesting take on that character, I guess, because you're right. Barry's definitive trait is that he is already a forensic pathologist before he ever becomes the Flash. He's already a great detective and a very intelligent guy. You're absolutely right. I couldn't have seen Grant Gustin playing this role But I feel like the CW Flash would have fit okay in this movie.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you could have just switched those out and it would have worked. He's kind of jokey and kind of playful in that way.
true.
I like it. Let's talk about Jason Momoa, though.
Good
Can we just do that?
Lord, the muscles on this human man.
They go
Wow.
on
Okay,
for miles.
all right, is this a double standard? Because I know that I'm going to be complaining about the male gaze a whole lot, like talking about this movie, or, we've got all the male gaze asterisks all
Yeah.
over our conversation. But it's okay that Jason Momoa is really hot and that I think he's really hot and I liked seeing him shirtless.
I
Is
think
it?
Yeah, no, I think it's
Okay.
completely okay because the problem with the male gaze is not a single instance of male gaze, right? Isn't that?
Is it that we're
is that true?
continuously
It's that
getting,
it's
like, ass shots of
completely
gal?
overwhelming. Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that she is presented in an uncomfortably sexualized way in this film when we already have a take on her character
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that worked so completely in Wonder Woman that we were all, turned around on the DCU by it.
Yes.
Jason Momoa is, obviously gorgeous.
Yes.
But much more importantly for me, really brings the levity.
Like, really funny.
Really funny, really
I
charming,
enjoyed
really warm.
Aquaman so much. I actually walked out of the theater shipping Diana and Aquaman. I want Diana and Arthur to get together.
I don't know. We know how she feels about children, and he's pretty boyish, right? He's
Yeah,
kind
but
of got that Thor
she's
boyish hero
royalty,
thing.
he's royalty. They both got superpowers. They're both some of the only characters in this movie that I give a damn about.
To be fair, Sarah was shipping Wonder Woman and Batman until I leaned over and said she would crush him.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
He would not
interesting.
survive a night.
I don't know.
with Wonder
Everything
Woman.
about this movie tells me that Batman is in fact significantly stronger than the average Amazon.
That's true.
Significantly stronger than.
God!
But we can't get there right now. We can't get there right now. But let me bring it back by saying, then I said, I think the safe word is Martha.
Oh, that disturbing, disquieting. Okay. Vinton, did you like this version of Aquaman? Do you care specifically about Aquaman? I mean, Aquaman has been a running joke for so long that
That's
it was,
true.
a major running joke in the series Entourage was about how ridiculous the thought of an Aquaman movie is.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see an Aquaman movie
Yeah,
now.
I would absolutely say, yes.
He's been so much of a joke that even in the more recent interpretations of the Justice League, he was written to be less of a joke, and they still made fun of the old version. Like the talk to fish joke comes from that run of comics. And I really like the way they deal with him here. I like this protective, strong, stoic Aquaman that we get. The problem is that's not what we get in the trailers. What we get in the trailers is Surfer Bro Aquaman
Yeah.
with his
Yeah.
yelling
My man.
catchphrase.
My man, yeah.
And I was expecting that. But then what I got in the film at the beginning was this stoic protector that I really appreciate. This dark, this very strong guy.
want that
and I loved
story.
it so much. And then halfway through the film, it just completely flipped out of nowhere. And he just became a surfer bro who yelled catchphrases. And I was like, what happened to the Aquaman I enjoyed so much in this movie?
I think that's just a function of space. You can absolutely tell, as you said, Vinton, that this movie had a strict 2-hour out. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I don't care if you're done. I don't care if you're finished. Your story stops now.
That's so
I hope
weird
we
that
get
they would
more
do that.
character
Yeah.
development for that. I mean, it's a big ask introducing 2 new major characters in the
Yes.
course of this movie, and that explains in part why we didn't get Martian Manhunter or Green Lantern in this movie because
Well, and, like,
we just got to expand the roster still further.
I just don't understand. I literally do not understand why DC thought, no, we'll start with the team movie and then do all the solo titles. Like, what?
Yeah.
What though?
Well, the Avengers has been such a big hit. I think that
Yeah,
they're
because
definitely.
we did all the solo ones first.
Well, true. Absolutely fair.
I mean, we got
just
3
said-
of them.
I
3
just
out of
said that we
5.
introduced 2 new characters,
Yeah.
which maybe explains a little of how I feel about Cyborg, played by Ray Fisher. I really enjoyed his performance. I thought his performance was very good. I thought his material was very thin. Yeah, I
Yes.
thought the special effects were generally terrible.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you just said.
Even
Pretty
his
consistent.
face seemed like it was CGI'd. Even the flesh parts of his face.
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
could
he
not
was he
tell.
ever even on set? Did they just like motion capture his face and just
I don't
have
know.
him do
I don't
voice
know.
work?
Yeah.
I
I have
literally
no
could not
idea.
tell what was man and what was machine. It was impossible. I don't know.
And it's all the worse. I mean, as you said before we started recording, we get a major CGI upgrade for Cyborg right at the end of this movie. And it's like, oh, no. He can look really cool
He
if we
could have
try.
looked cool this whole time. Maybe.
Yeah, they were just telling us, don't worry, guys, we figured out CGI. It'll be better next time.
Here in the year of our Lord 2017, we figured out CGI. It's going to be fine. I appreciate the decision not to give him, prosthetics, not to just give him like a metal faceplate or whatever, not to give him a Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier arm.
That arm looked amazing,
Did
though.
look amazing. This is the problem: is that everything we've seen from both practical effects and more limited digital effects is more effective than this weird hybrid creation. The biggest problems with Cyborg, though, are structural. He just doesn't have a place in the movie. And as much as Aquaman changes halfway through this film, Cyborg is just lost in the shuffle.
On that same hand, though, Cyborg is integral to the film, and that without him, we would have no idea what was happening.
That's very fair.
Yeah,
because he's just there to explain the mother boxes over and over again to us and what they can and can't do.
Well,
which
and don't
is
forget,
everything.
Diana
They
did
can do
that for
everything.
us too. And I mean, if it were like Cyborg and Diana are freaking like exposition mules, and that's a pain in the ass to deal with.
It is. And he
Batman
just walks
gets
through the
to
film
deliver
touching things and
ominous.
delivering exposition.
Something's coming. I don't know what it is, but ooh,
I had a nightmare. I was very scared. I woke up
Alfred,
in a
can I
cold
sleep in your
sweat.
bed tonight? I had a bad dream.
No, Mr. Bruce.
Can I have some of your Pinot Grigio?
Go collect a team of friends. Go get some friends, please.
Go outside and play, Master Bruce. Jeremy Irons returns as Alfred and
He's
is
amazing.
fantastic.
He's great.
Diane
Love
Lane
him.
returns
He's
as
so
Mother
Love
Kent,
Diane
and
Lane.
it's
Absolutely,
fantastic.
yes.
Connie Nielsen returns as Queen Hippolyta. Amy Adams
You know
as
what?
Lois
Wait, hang
Lane.
on. I wish that they'd given Connie Nielsen more stuff to do. Moving
Always
on.
true. Always true.
Yeah.
Always true. Speaking of people I wish had more to do in this movie.
Amy Adams.
J.K. Simmons
J.K. Simmons.
as Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, I mean, I know we all saw that footage of J.K. Simmons like buffing up for this movie.
Unnecessarily? Perhaps.
Completely unnecessarily. He's just wearing regular clothes.
Sure
It would have
is.
been fine.
You can't tell.
Except it's also, hey, Jim, have you been hitting the gym? That's an inadvertent pun that I didn't mean to make. And yet I think that actually explains it. That explains it. He didn't see the name written down. He thought the character's name was Jim Gordon, G-Y-M Gordon.
Gymnasium Gordon.
Commissioner Gymnasium Gordon.
God, alternate title.
He reads Golden Age comic books where everyone's name is what they are.
I'm so in love with that idea now. This may be the week that we throw out our naming convention.
Brick Shithouse Gordon.
Shithouse Gordon. I love J.K. Simmons in literally everything. He is one of those actors that I could watch do his thing no matter what.
Yeah.
He is brilliant every time he is on screen.
He's still the perfect J.
He's-
Jonah Jameson, but he does a
I
really
love him
good job
J.
as a
Jonah
commissioner
Jameson.
here.
Yes, yes. Can we also talk a little about Kieran Hines, who gives us the voice and I guess parts of the motion capture performance for Steppenwolf are
Steppenwolf.
big, bad.
I don't know if I can believe that there was any motion capture done here.
Not a lot, certainly. Maybe some facial stuff, but the facial motion
Well, the
capture in this
problem is
movie
that-
is maybe not great.
I know what the problem is. The problem is that Andy Serkis was working on Black Panther
That's the problem.
and also Last Jedi.
Yes, and
also
everything that
possibly
requires-
the new Rampage movie coming out, because when I saw that CGI gorilla, I leaned over to Vinton and said, "That's Andy Serkis, though, right? Like that has
Who
to
else
be
would
Andy
it be?
Serkis."
Did you see that thing that's been going around on Twitter this week? The shot of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the upcoming Jumanji movie, and then the shot of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the upcoming Rampage movie, in which he is clearly wearing exactly the same shirt while standing in front of exactly the same jungle.
They filmed it at the same time.
Apparently.
They had one camera team on one side and the other team on the other side, shooting at angles to miss each
Okay,
other.
this week you get Dwayne Monday through Tuesday. Next week, we'll get him Friday and Thursday.
Hey, Rampage, let us know if you're going to make some of those deleted scenes. We could use some better dialogue.
But that's enough about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for now, at least until he gets cast in an inevitable MCU role. He'll show up
Why
in one
has
of
he
these
not
movies.
yet? Anyway,
Because he's making so much more money.
That's true.
doing
Yeah,
every
he's doing
film
way other
that's
things.
He's
offered
got a
to him.
So
DC.
many.
He's got a
guess.
DCEU role coming up. So
Was there anyone else in the cast who really jumped out at you?
I do want to. This isn't someone that necessarily jumped out at me, but I do want to mention this. Billy Crudup plays Barry Allen's,
Yes.
the Flash's father in this film. Just like in the show, he's in jail, wrongfully imprisoned. The thing I want to mention about this, though, is that Billy Crudup was actually the top contender for the role of Bruce Wayne Batman in Batman Begins before it went to Christian Bale. So we could have seen something completely different
I
there.
could see that.
Yeah.
I like him very much as an actor. We don't need Henry Allen in this movie, at
No, we
all.
really don't.
We definitely, for those of us who have been watching The Flash on the CW, we definitely don't need another trip to Iron Heights. We don't need to do this story with Barry in this movie.
Iron
you
Heights
guys.
is such a pleasant name for a prison.
We also don't need.
Well, it's because it's not Arkham. It's not in Gotham. It's going to be fine.
We also don't need Billy Crudup to become the Golden Age Flash like he did in the show, which a lot of people are already speculating based off of his hairstyling in this film.
Boy, no, let's just not. If we could just keep the Flash on a tight leash, I know we have an upcoming Flash
1
movie,
million
and I know what that
speedsters.
means. But yes, I would like to call out the wonderful Amber Heard as Mira.
Oh my God, she was amazing.
Isn't she great?
Yeah, no, I loved her.
Completely convinced by our vision of Atlantis in this movie.
No,
I really liked
loved
the way
it,
that the
adored
Atlanteans were held.
So real quick before we move on, wasn't Robin Wright supposed to be in this movie again?
Yes, we were told just publicly, we were told outright that she was going to be in this movie, that she was going to be playing Antiope.
We talked about that on an episode of this podcast, I feel like.
Which confused us because, minor spoilers for Wonder Woman, she super dies
She's
at the
super
end of the
dead.
first act of that movie, you guys. She's nowhere to be seen in this film.
Nowhere
that I saw, anyway. Yeah. She may be very deep in the background somewhere. I know that we got David Thewlis in this movie. We got Ares from the Wonder Woman movie does appear in this film.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very briefly. So I don't know. It's possible that she's in there somewhere, but that was not what I was led to believe.
Like, do you think it's just in that like one scene that we can't go into detail about right now? But
Until
I mean,
we draw that spoiler line.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, it's a flashback. Like, don't worry, you guys. But like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see her, but there was. God, that scene was a mess. Okay, we gotta go. We gotta
imagine. Okay,
go to the spoiler line.
Before we get to the spoiler line, we've got to talk about the history of the Justice League of America. There are 3 direct inspirations from this movie, and I'm going to move quickly through this. The Origins of the Justice League by Gardner Fox in 1960, the New 52 Justice League Origins series from 2011 and 2012 by Jeff Johns and Jim Lee, and mostly, like a surprising amount, like a huge amount, from Jack Kirby's Fourth World comics written between 1970 and 1975. You guys, when I came out of this movie, the first thing I said was, wow, that was Kirby as shit. Like, I love Jack Kirby. I never expected to see this amount of Kirby on the screen.
I don't know. I feel like I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Really? Okay.
I think coming off of the heels of Thor Ragnarok, where we got Kirby done in the most Kirby fashion, I went in the Justice League and was just like, hey, you took a bunch of Kirby's stuff and then just changed it, didn't you? And really kept it from being Kirby.
A lot of
like,
it is
here's Snyder's
proper
interpretation
noun.
of Kirby's visions of things.
That's fair, I guess. Yeah, the idea that the Fourth World stuff can even be significant. Let's get into it. In fact, we'll talk about the Justice League first. The Justice League has its origins in the Justice Society of America, a DC super team introduced in All-Star Comics number 3 in 1940, consisting of, and brace yourself for this roster because you've heard of maybe 3 of them: Dr. Fate, Hourman, the Spectre, the Sandman, the Atom, the Flash, Green Lantern, and Hawkman. It was the first superhero team book, and it was the first intercompany crossover title because the Atom, the Flash, Green Lantern, and Hawkman were not the property of DC, but rather the property of all American publications. It was a huge success at the time. It sold millions of copies. The JSA book ran until issue 57 in March of 1951 when it folded, but then in 1960, Julius Schwartz asked Gardner Fox, who had written JSA back in the day, to reboot the team for the modern era. Inspired by Major League Baseball, this is not a joke, inspired by Major League Baseball, Julius Schwartz changed the name of the team from the Justice Society of America to the Justice League of America. Because Americans like leagues?
We love baseball. It's our pastime, I guess.
Right next to bowling.
Because you know
apple pie.
League implies an internal competition. That is, it's fine. It's fine. It doesn't even matter. In The Brave and the Bold, issue number 28, in March of 1960, Gardner's team debuted this team: Aquaman, Arthur Curry, who debuted in More Fun Comics number 73 in 1941, created by Mort Weisinger and Paul Norris. Batman, Bruce Wayne, who debuted in Detective Comics 27 in 1939, created by Bill Finger, yes, I'll say his name first, and Bob Kane.
Nice.
The Flash, Barry Allen, who debuted in Flash Comics number 1 in 1940, created by Gardner Fox and Harry Lampert. Superman, Kal-El, Clark Kent, who debuted in Action Comics number 1 in 1938, created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. And Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, who debuted in All-Star Comics number 8 in 1941, created by William Moulton Marston and Harry G. Peter, plus The Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern. But who has time to talk about those no-mark losers? They didn't even make it to the Justice League movie. So Aquaman, Batman, The Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, this is the core of the Justice League. Volume 1 of Justice League of America was published from 1960 until 1987, when, in the wake of Crisis on Infinite Earths, it ended. A second volume was published from 2006 until 2011. A third volume ran from 2013 to 2014. A fourth volume ran from 2015 to 2017. And a fifth volume is currently ongoing. Wait, let me check my watch. Yep, it's still running as of this recording. This is why people are infuriated with the constant DC reboots. One title runs for 27 years. The next title runs for, 14 months. After Flashpoint and the introduction of the New 52 in 2011, the Justice League was rebooted. The team then consisted of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, that version of Green Lantern, for those of you keeping track at home, Aquaman, the Barry Allen Flash, and Cyborg, Victor Stone, a brilliant high school athlete who was turned into a, cyborg by advanced technology. He debuted in Flashpoint Volume 2, Number 5 in October of 2011, created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez.
And it should be worth noting here that Cyborg was originally created in the 80s. This is not a character who was ever a part of the Justice League before this point. He's always been a Teen Titan.
The reboot for New 52 shuffled a lot in the DC universe. Yes,
and
this version of Cyborg, he is, I think, marked as a different character, but he's the same guy, you guys. Yeah. He's the same guy.
Yeah. So a lot of people that are big DC fans from back in the day are very upset at this, saying he's always been a Teen Titan. No, I know he's in the Justice League in the New 52, but I know him as a Teen Titan. Yeah. He belongs with the Teen Titans.
I would love to do Teen Titans is one of those huge gaps in my comic reading history. I would love to do like an in-depth study of the Teen Titans at some point.
Could we get a Teen Titans movie in the same vein as Spider-Man Homecoming?
Could we? Yes. Will we? No.
Oh, Fitton gave us the sad but accurate answer.
It's my least favorite.
Yeah. So the first arc of the New 52 series involves parademons and Cyborg's origin story and boom tubes and a lot more besides, which is
tubes?
We'll get to it. It's going to be completely incomprehensible to you unless you've seen the Justice League movie. And if you've seen the Justice League movie, it's still going to be mostly incomprehensible to you unless you are aware of Jack Kirby's weird early 70s tenure at DC. This is the Cliff Notes version. Okay, so in 1970, after spending a decade working with Stan Lee at Marvel and inventing, modern comics, inventing all of the characters that we love from Marvel, Kirby is frustrated. Marvel comes to him with a contract that he absolutely refuses to sign because it is a terrible full-time contract that includes clauses saying that he cannot at any point in the rest of his career sue them for anything. He is not allowed legal recourse against his employer. And Kirby, who famously had no time for any of that kind of bullshit. He was a working man who worked, decided instead that he would go to DC. He went to DC and created the Fourth World. He created, this is the Cliff Notes version. Steppenwolf, the New Gods, Darkseid, Boom Tubes, Mother Boxes, Parademons, the burning hellscape of the planet Apocalypse. All of this comes from Kirby's Fourth World stories, also known as his New Gods stories, which were released in 4 different titles, all written and drawn by Kirby. The series New Gods, the series Mr. Miracle, the series The Forever People, and of course, the series Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, which Kirby took over when he went to DC because no one wanted to write on that book. He said, give me your worst selling title, give me the book that no one else wants, and I'll make it great. And you know what? He did. That's how you become Jack Kirby.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting here that this was only supposed to be like a story arc to Kirby. This was never supposed to be an ongoing thing, but it became one of the most integral parts of the DC universe, especially the villain Darkseid, which you're about to talk about, I'm sure. But one of the most fascinating points here is this whole storyline, this whole story arc was made for Marvel. Jack Kirby was going to take the Thor universe, have Ragnarok happen, have all the old gods die, and bring in these new gods. And so he left Marvel, went to DC, and just took the storyline over. And that's why you can kind of connect a lot of this to the mythology of the Marvel Norse things going on over there.
The leader of the new gods is called the High Father. Not the All Father, but the High
420,
Father.
Nice, blaze it. I hadn't said anything in a while, so...
Comics historian Les Daniels said of Kirby's Fourth World work, Kirby's mix of slang and myth, science fiction, and the Bible made for a heady brew, but the scope of his vision has endured. And Grant Morrison, no stranger to the cosmic and the ludicrous himself, said, Kirby's dramas were staged across Jungian vistas of raw symbol and storm. The Fourth World saga crackles with the voltage of Jack Kirby's boundless imagination let loose onto paper. Basically, Sarah, your primer for the Fourth World is this. There is a space outside of space known as the Fourth World. You can only get to it through interdimensional portals known as boom tubes.
The Bifrost?
The Bifrost effect that you see. They're called boom tubes because when they erupt, emerge, whatever.
They go boom?
They go boom. Thus, boom tubes. I don't actually have this in a note. You know why they're called mother boxes? They're called mother boxes because Jack Kirby was fascinated by the concept of the motherboard. You know that bit of plastic that holds your chips and stuff inside your computer? He thought motherboard was just like a really cool sounding and technical thing. But what's cooler than a board? A board expanded into 3 dimensions. A box. That is why they are called mother boxes.
Yeah. I want to point out real quick that I really enjoy mother boxes in the comic books because basically they are sentient magical supercomputers that can do almost anything. Manipulate energy, heal injuries, or teleport you across time and space.
God, nothing means anything anymore.
And they're usually just little supercomputers. They look like what people might have thought smartphones would look like back in the 60s.
Yeah. No, they're just great. This is all part of Jack Kirby's like super retro high-tech thing that he did throughout his entire career. I adore it. We can't go too deeply into it, but inside the fourth world, inside this space, outside of space, there are 2 planets, a good one called New Genesis and a bad one called Apocalypse.
Which is spelled stupid, right?
Spelled weirdly.
Apokolips. Apocalypse, which in the frame of this movie and the weird CGI lips that we get throughout this film, perhaps appropriate. We can't go too deeply into it, but the residents of these planets have godlike powers because of their proximity to the source, a primeval energy, one of the like foundational energies of the DC universe. The hellscape planet Apocalypse is ruled by the tyrant king Darkseid, who gets
You mean Darkseid? You mean Darkseid?
Darkseid.
Darkseid
from Final Fantasy, yeah. And his faithful followers, including his uncle, Darkseid's uncle, one General Steppenwolf.
Yeah, his uncle.
Also,
Uncle Steppenwolf?
The female Furies led by the evil Granny Goodness, who is one of the darkest characters.
What?
No, it's ironic. She's very evil and just great to read.
No time.
I really hope that we get to cover the Mr. Miracle miniseries that Tom King is currently doing because it is just as good as the Vision miniseries he did, and it's on all of this stuff exactly.
It is worth noting that even though he does not appear in this film, he is referenced in this film. Darkseid is legit as a villain. He is arguably the biggest villain in all of DC continuity. He is ranked number 6 on that IGN list of all the villains ever. That
God, we gotta cover that one day
here on Excelsior. Yeah, maybe we'll do that over the holidays when we need to bank an episode because we're going to be out of town or, drunk. That is the comics history of the Justice League. We should probably draw the spoiler line and move into...
I'm sorry, we were trapped in comics land for a really long time.
Does any of that sound appealing to you? Does any of that work for you?
No, God, no.
Okay.
No, it means nothing to me. I don't know if it's just that I know that it's DC and I'm like, out. Like, I don't know. I mean, just, it was a lot.
One of the really interesting things about this being so much Kirby influence in this film is that this is the first time that we've seen Kirby influence in the DC film universe. Yeah. But without Kirby, we would have no Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's absolutely
Almost
true.
everything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe comes from Kirby.
You're completely right. Kirby did not work for DC for very long, but the influence of the Fourth World stuff continued on through the 80s, the 90s, and is now, a major component in DC's... Is multiverse the right word now? Are we back to the multiverse this week? I forget. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. And yeah, Kirby was a genius. So it's interesting that in this 100th year of Jack Kirby, it would have been his 100th birthday this year had he lived. It's fascinating that we get both Thor Ragnarok and Justice League kind of honoring his contribution to the world of comics.
One of those in a much better way.
Kirby, thanks so much. So with all of that said, let's get into our discussion of the Justice League movie. This is our spoiler line. We're going to spoil the hell out of everything in this movie. And we're going to begin
with...
it's
a spoiler siren.
That's the spoiler siren. Yeah,
yes.
As we know.
I don't remember what it sounded like previously, but that's it now. Like a Fox-made comic book movie, the canon is new every time.
That has always been the spoiler sound, and if you don't agree, then you're a liar. Let's begin with our flashback right at the beginning of this movie, because I don't know if you guys know this, but thousands of years ago, there was a big fight over some mother boxes on Earth. Steppenwolf shows up. He attempts to conquer Earth with his parademons through the combined energy of the 3 mother boxes, which does feel a little Thanos-like. I don't want to draw too many direct Marvel comparisons.
This was the most Lord of the Rings shit I've seen since Lord of the Rings. It was ridiculous. I'm like, what the, okay, here come the elves. All right, and now we've got the dwarves coming in. Super cool.
Yeah, because it turns out that in addition to Amazons, there are also Atlanteans. We spend almost no time on that.
Oh, yeah, and they totally were at war with each other at one point. NBD, don't even worry about it.
Did you know mermaids existed in this world? It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So there's this unified army of Olympian gods and Amazons and Atlanteans and a bunch of humans. And hey, you guys, some Green Lanterns.
Yeah.
I was so excited to see Green Lanterns at the beginning of this movie. I saw this movie by myself. I should say you guys went to see this on Friday. I saw this on Thursday. And in the movie theater, as the Green Lanterns show up, 4 people in the theater go, yeah! I was one of those people.
Yep.
Good for you.
I like
Thrilled to
the
see
main
Green
one that we
Lantern.
get to see has the cape, which seems like an homage to Alan Scott, the first Green Lantern in the comics. And of course, this is just foreshadowing the upcoming Green Lantern Corps movie that we're going to be getting.
We'll see if that ever happens. Yep, it's scheduled right now, but the IMDb
boy.
page is scanty, so we'll see if that ever actually happens. I really like the Green Lanterns, like as a concept. I like this idea of this interstellar space force. So I'm into that idea. I'm into the idea of a reboot. I didn't necessarily hate the Green Lantern movie as much as a lot of
don't think I
people
ever saw
hated it. It's fine. It's fine.
I fell asleep during
Yeah.
it in the theater, so
Whoops.
it's never happened to me.
That's just self-protection happening.
Yeah.
Right?
I went into a little cocoon of protection. I did really appreciate that when the Green Lantern died, his ring flew off into the sky and you get the bad guy like watching it fly off.
Yes.
And I was like, that's a really cool thing to do
It
there.
was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. What did you guys make of this flashback battle sequence? Did it work for you? Were you hooked by it?
I don't think I was hooked by it. I don't know, like it immediately and instantaneously felt like, oh, okay, so here is like the first level of our scaffolding we have to put up to make this movie work.
There was an ancient war, which I think we predicted all the way back when we were discussing the trailer for Justice League, that this was how the movie was going to start. I think this was just Amazons actually protecting something. But yeah, this is where we begin.
But this wasn't actually the opening sequence of the film because we actually wait like 15 minutes to give us this flashback. This is a setup.
This is the first like narrative thing that happens.
Right.
Yes, but
before this, we deal with the whole world mourning the death of Superman.
Can we, okay, let's talk about this.
okay.
Let's.
Did you guys get a sense at any point in the entirety of the DCEU that anybody cared about Superman other than Diane Lane and Amy Adams?
No.
No.
I'm completely happy with this retcon. I'm completely
like,
happy with the idea that now we
This
all
is
cared about
better.
Superman.
This is better, but like, where the hell is this coming
Right.
from?
This is them trying to redeem Superman, to course correct the tone that they portrayed previously, making him look like the big blue Boy Scout that I've always hoped that they would make him look like, showing the whole world mourning his death and chaos without him somehow.
Yep.
And I love that
Terrorism and crime on the rise because Superman is dead. Remember Superman? We all care about Superman.
Not because Superman is dead, but because hope is dead. This is
Hope has
exactly
died.
what Superman should embody. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is.
They're
not
pulling a
in
Fox.
continuity.
This is the new canon.
This is the new canon.
I guess so. Yeah, I
they-
just need to not think about it. I guess.
They're asking everyone to just look right past all the previous stuff they've done, and just being told this is the way it will be now, and that's the way it was. Just pretend, use your imagination. I feel like it's just not earned. It's hard to imagine
Absolutely,
it
it
being
is
earned
not.
coming from the other films.
You're right. Like, you need to do more. If you're going to have a cinematic universe, if you're going to do this thing, then you have to be prepared to actually invest in your course correction. You don't get to slap a band-aid on it and scroll retcon across your across your entire universe.
I feel like there was a Man of Steel 2 that they just forgot to make, and we didn't get to see, or we forgot to see, where he was just doing great things all throughout the whole thing.
I'm gonna have like the same complaint when we get to much later in the film, whenever Superman is revived and then Wonder Woman is having a conversation with him, and like it's okay. There's a movie out there where Superman was beloved and like everybody was wicked into him, and he was a symbol of hope and a beacon of hope, and also he and Diana just kicked it, and like were chatting and like talking about their childhoods and their lives and like what it's like to be like a godlike being among all these mortals. I would have loved that fucking movie, but they didn't give me that.
No, we didn't get it, but it's implied.
It seems
by
like a
this
cool
film, consistently implied by it. What did you guys make of that? Obviously, shot on an iPhone interview footage of Superman right at the beginning of the movie.
That is a fucking tall 8-year-old.
Yeah, I feel like the 8-year-old's just holding the phone up as close to his face as possible.
Has to be.
I kind of like that idea.
I got
gotta
so
tell you,
distracted by it.
right off the bat, this is the Superman that I want. It
Yeah.
works
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
And I love the cut that we get, because I feel as though Superman fans, people who are coming to Justice League because they love the comics, because they love these characters, not just because they love the Zack Snyder movies in particular, they know what that last beat means. When the kid asks Superman, what's your favorite thing about Earth? And he looks away and then smiles. Henry Cavill as Superman actually smiles, you guys.
Yeah.
And then it cuts before he answers. And the answer is obviously you. The answer is it's you. It's kids, and it's hope, and it's goodness, and it's virtue, and it's all the things that Superman should represent. And I'm in. Like, this is the best vision of Superman that we've seen in the modern era. I completely love it.
I agree.
It is I think you're absolutely right when you say that it's
what
unearned.
I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does feel unearned.
It's one of these things I'll just give it a pass because I want it so much.
I mean, I guess, does this mean that, like, you know, later whenever you get, when somebody out there, probably not us, but when someone out there gets, like, the DC, like, Blu-ray box set, do you just never watch Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman? Do you just watch Wonder Woman and then straight into Justice League?
Well, I think the problem is that in Man of Steel and in Batman vs. Superman, there's a discontinuity of experience. All of the criticisms of Superman, hey, you're basically a terrorist. Hey,
Yeah.
you're kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Those criticisms come from, I think, a well-intentioned reading of the story, but within the frame of the story, he's still supposed to be the big blue Boy Scout. He's still supposed to be a symbol of hope, even when he demonstrably isn't.
Right.
So I don't know. Is there an edit you can make to Man of Steel that could redeem that movie, that could make him good and heroic and super? Maybe, but I haven't seen it.
Not without a lot of Joss Whedon reshoots.
Yeah, you need to spend
$25
a
million.
lot of money on that story. Yeah.
Speaking of Joss Whedon reshoots, there's two things that happen at the very beginning of this film that I feel like have to be from Whedon because I don't feel like they're stances that Snyder would take. And one of them is when they're showing that the whole world's in chaos, they show a white man with a shaved head attacking the owner of a bodega.
Yeah.
And he's wearing a metal band shirt that says MAGA Horde, MAGA, Make America Great Again, Horde. So he seems to be sending a message there. And then later, as we already kind of mentioned in the Flash's hideout, you'll see Rick and Morty playing, specifically the scene from Rick and Morty where a chemically enhanced Summer and Rick are beating up a Nazi.
It seems very 2017. And it's not a political agenda with which I am entirely unsympathetic. I'll put it that way. I
Yes.
kind of like that this is what
Right.
we're doing in the movie. This is what superhero movies can do, should do, arguably,
Yes.
is make this metaphor so large that we can engage with it from different perspectives. I like the idea that the world without Superman is just this dark, mean-spirited place, that it's
Yeah.
just not what you want the world to
I
be.
feel like it is that message,
Yeah.
and it is a cool way to do it. It's like the reason why we ended up in the dumpster fire this 2017 because Superman died.
Speaking of dumpster fires, the first act of this movie is kind of a hot mess. We
It
get
sure is.
a full-on Batman story that
Yes.
is shot like a Batman story.
Yes.
We get a Wonder Woman story that is shot kind of like a Wonder Woman story.
I mean, a little bit.
With some functional revisions to the costuming, which we'll talk about in a
Oh my
moment.
God.
We get a Flash story that is shot like an episode of a CW TV show.
Yeah.
The same
Yes.
could be said of the Cyborg show,
Yes.
too. I kind of like the way that we bring these different visual motifs and visual aesthetics together, but the first act feels like it takes forever to go not very far, right?
The problem I think I have is the words bringing together there. Do they ever come together? And I feel like it's even later on the film, when the camera goes from Batman to Wonder Woman, you get a tonal change. It's
do,
not
yeah.
a melding, it's just separate thing.
This, I think, is my finished and considered response to the film as a whole. This is a film of innumerable parts, some of which are good, some of which are very, very bad indeed, but it never coheres into
Yeah.
a single film. It never does what the Avengers did against all odds,
Yes.
which was come together and feel like a team movie. This feels like 5 different films all happening at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels like someone took a bunch of clips from multiple different movies and was like, hey, I made this cool compilation.
You're right. This is the YouTube supercut of
Yes.
the DCU.
Yes.
You're exactly right. So in the present, the death of Superman has cast the world into chaos and darkness, firstly, but also, incidentally, triggered the mother boxes, resulting in Steppenwolf's return to Earth in an effort to regain favor with his master Darkseid. You don't need to know or care about any of that. Steppenwolf retrieves the mother box from Themyscira. This is our first kind of, besides the flashback, this is our first action set piece. And this is where the movie starts to creak and groan and crack. And oh boy.
This is hot roasted garbage.
Can we talk about the male gaze first, Sarah? Can you lead the charge on that and how
Yeah.
the Amazons look in this film?
So you guys remember when Wonder Woman was getting ready to come out and everybody was talking about how their costuming looked utterly astonishing and utterly amazing because not only was it practical, functional, like warrior wear, but it was also like based in historical fact. And
Yeah.
I mean, you know, vaguely-ish, you know, as much as a movie can be. But like this looked like the kinds of outfits that warriors would wear into battle. And the Amazons were literally created by the gods to be well, I guess first it was like, hey, fucking get men's like shit together. And if you cannot do that, then please be a warrior race and like destroy them and save the planet. In this movie, we get a lot of very hot women in leather bikinis.
We sure do.
Yeah.
We sure do. Which
And-
is disappointing.
It's not only disappointing, it's infuriating because we were able, I mean, like, we we already have established what these characters look like. We know what all of these women on Themyscira look like, and we know none of them dress like this.
Yeah.
None of them dress like this. There's no reason for them to dress like this.
And what's most frustrating is it's not even like summer on Themyscira and everyone's in beachwear because
It's always summer on Themyscira.
everyone who has an established costume from the Wonder Woman movie is wearing that costume.
Yeah,
and everyone
Hippolyta
else
looks like Hippolyta.
Yeah.
All these other like Amazon extras.
leather Victoria's Secret.
What is happening?
Yeah.
I was like not just mad and not just disappointed, but like my heart hurt seeing this
No,
because it was
I
like we
completely understand,
already
yeah.
fixed this. We already did this, and
it
it's a
seems
step back.
to me that we actually get a really strong kind of textual proof of the problem with the male gaze. The problem with the male gaze is not, hey, here you can appreciate a beautiful human being.
Yeah.
That's fine. We all like to appreciate beautiful human beings.
Yes.
The problem with the male gaze specifically is that it objectifies and reduces.
Yes.
And this is accompanied by a sequence in which the Amazons get their ass kicked.
So when Steppenwolf shows up, okay, I'm sorry, when Black Sabbath shows up, like, he should have been taken out immediately by the Amazons, right?
The opening of this film should have been Queen Hippolyta just looking at him and saying, but no.
Yeah, no,
and
really,
kicking his
though.
ass for 90 minutes.
Yeah, he could have like chucked his axe at her. We'd have got a bitch please weapon catch, which is our favorite thing, and the movie would have been over.
Right. I was looking for it, and I might have missed it, but I didn't see a single Amazonian take down a single parademon. And that's just ridiculous for
It's
how
a
easily
fucking
beaten they are
travesty.
later. And to me, it feels like this patriarchal response to Wonder Woman saying, oh no, we can't have powerful women. Better sexualize them and beat them up a bit.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's gross. It's disgusting.
Yes. It's also weak sauce storytelling.
Yeah.
You guys.
Oh my god, it's
Also-
such shit.
Really bad.
There's a scene where two Amazonians hold up a wall that's made out of like complete stone. It's got to be like 40 tons. And yet later a horse falls on one and she can't get up.
And she can't fucking pick up her horse.
No, that is specifically that moment is the worst moment of one of the Amazons being damseled in this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
It's really uncomfortable,
Like,
very unpleasant.
you cannot fucking tell me that every single woman on that island doesn't know how to get out from under a horse.
You'd think that would be, if
That's
not day
like
one, then at
that's
least
day
day
two.
one is get on a horse. Day two, get out from under a horse.
Yes.
It's fine. Keep practice. Literally get back on the horse. You're going to be okay. Yeah.
Also, the super powerful arrow, flaming arrow that is shot later to ignite this sign to the world.
God.
Why didn't you shoot that at Steppenwolf? Why'd you just shoot normal arrows at him?
magical
You can
arrow-
shoot an arrow that powerfully, but you just shot an arrow like a normal person
It's
at
fired from
Steppenwolf.
Themyscira and hits Greece.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, we don't know where Themyscira is. It's
It's
presumably
a
in the
boat. It's
Mediterranean
a skip
somewhere.
like
but
a skip, hop, and a jump away from London is where it is.
yeah, one of my biggest problems with the Wonder Woman movie right there. But okay, it's fine. It's
Okay,
fine.
all right, so-
But this is garbage.
We did all of that. We said that we were going to try really hard to talk positively about this film.
Is there something positive in this that you can pull out?
Connie Nielsen's pretty baller.
While the CGI of the horses and stuff look terrible, it is cool when all the Amazonians come piling in just as
Oh yeah, you mean the
villain escapes.
wildebeest scene from The Lion King?
Okay,
Yeah.
that is actually very cool. And
Yeah.
I will say,
But
as
it
much
looks
as
terrible,
the
but it's
boom
cool.
tubes do look 100% like desaturated Bifrost. Right?
It's absolutely-
This is what Zack Snyder would do if he was directing Thor, is just take all the
Oh my
color out of the Bifrost.
Rainbow Bridge.
Please, gray bridge. It's going to be a gray monochromatic bridge. But I do really love the boom tube effect. I really like that.
Yeah.
What do you guys make of the CGI for Steppenwolf? And let me phrase that question slightly differently. Why is the CGI for Steppenwolf so bad?
Hold on, let me just rephrase that question again. Why is the CGI for Steppenwolf?
Why is that?
Why is?
Did we learn nothing from
Why does do
Ronan the
this?
Accuser?
Oh my
He's
gosh,
just
he
a
looks
terrible antagonist.
terrible.
You
He
know what?
is, to me, worse than the worst things we've seen in the MCU.
Wow.
Ronan the Accuser,
Yeah.
greater than Anthrax here.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100%
Listeners at
agree.
home, I'm playing a game where the only thing I know about Steppenwolf is that it's a metal band name, and so I'm going to replace that throughout the entire episode.
Kind of like that. That's a good game.
Thanks.
Let's play that game. So from there, we move back outside of the realms of Themyscira, and we're basically doing the get our team together montage. We effectively split up. Bruce Wayne goes after Arthur Curry.
Yeah, we see a lot of Batman, which is really good. I really
Yeah.
like the way that Batman's done in this film.
Yes. Yes.
He's very acrobatic. The first thing he does when he shows up is do a backflip over some guy, which is cool looking.
Actually, the climbing around the water tower there is that is a
really liked it.
Burton-esque vision of Gotham City, too.
Absolutely,
it really is. You
Gotham
get to see the
isn't gonna look
classic
like
cars
that.
and stuff.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
really cool.
Art
I love
Deco AF.
I do want to mention that you see a Janus sign on a building in the background during the first Batman scene.
Yes.
And this could be a reference to a company that is basically, it's a reference to the Batman villain Black Mask, which is a clue of who might be the villain in the upcoming Batman movie. We'll see. But very interesting if that's
direction to go.
the way they're going to do it.
That's a darker and more kind of noirish Gotham take on Batman. I'm kind of into that, honestly.
I'm kind of into that too.
I'd like to see more of this Gotham. I'd like to see more of this Batman. Even now, I think that he's still an interesting character. And what we get of him later, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's taking longer to heal and he's taking longer to recover. That fantastic scene when Diana just pops his shoulder back in.
I
so good.
liked that
I like
scene
that so
quite
much.
a lot.
Yeah.
Also, like, holy shit, Ben Affleck, you're huge in this movie.
He's so huge.
He's like gigantic.
And he's not
So
like
cool.
Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill looks like an Adonis. Like he
Yes.
looks like that
Yeah.
guy. And Jason Momoa looks just like a cartoon character.
He's
Come on now.
he's called Drago, right? He's the guy from Game of Thrones, just moved over here and made into a fish man.
I like that very much.
Yes.
Ben Affleck, though, just like 300 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's like he's wearing a
crazy.
bodysuit.
I really like that he gets beat up too. That his arm does get thrown out of
Yeah.
place. He's all bruised up. He's hurting. That's really cool, and that's
Yeah.
what I want to see for my Batman. We of course get the line that you opened up with, exploding wind-up penguins, which is great to reference the whimsical side of the Bat villain craziness, and to know that did exist in that 20 years he's been Batman.
And we're doubling down on that idea, which is, as we've discussed over the course of Batmonth, one of my favorite ideas, that Batman is responsible for what has happened to Gotham.
Yes,
like,
no,
this is his
absolutely,
fault.
yeah.
And now it's worse because with the death of Superman, Gotham is becoming, or the entire world, I suppose, is becoming Gotham. Gotham is spreading out past
I
the
don't wanna
bounds of the
live
city.
there.
No one wants to live in that world. How do we feel about the Arthur Curry storyline? How do we feel about the recruitment of Aquaman?
I loved this scene so much.
Really well
Me
done.
too.
Loved this.
There's one thing I have to complain about, which I feel like most people didn't pick up on, at least from the talk I've heard, and it's that Aquaman and Batman just openly talk about how Bruce Wayne's Batman in front of like 30 or 40 people
But
who
those
obviously
people-
speak English.
No, they
'cause-
don't speak English though.
But a lot
wait,
of them
no,
were
you're right,
speaking
they
English, and
understand
that scene,
English.
they understand English.
That is a
And so those
problem.
people definitely just know that Bruce Wayne's Batman. They're like, hey, that really
Well,
famous
it's
guy.
like a
Who
tiny
are they
little
going to tell?
village.
Who are they going to tell?
They're gonna tell the
I
fish.
love that. This is the difference, you guys, between real shooting on location and CGI
Yes.
effects.
Yes.
This looked amazing.
They
This
did.
the entire idea that like Arthur Curry's whole deal is that he just found this village of like nobody else is taking care of them. They're struggling. They have nothing. They have nobody. And he's like, no, I am going to champion these people in exchange for scotch. Like, yes, I'm into that. Like, that's Jessica Jones
Oh,
as fuck,
man.
and I am so here for this.
Yeah, him walking down the pier with the bottle of booze, throwing it down, and just diving into the giant waves was so cool.
The stripping off of the first time he goes into the water. The
God.
stripping off of the sweater. The tattoos look amazing.
So
And Batman
good.
saying, I put a tracker on this jacket, but he just left it there.
That might not even be his jacket.
That might not
Fantastic
even be
line.
his jacket.
It's a good line.
Thank you, Joss Whedon, for that line.
Thank
I'm
you.
completely convinced that was
Oh,
you.
1,000,000,000%.
Completely
Yes.
convinced. And I think that Ben Affleck has a great facility with everything that he's asked to do in this
Mm-hmm.
sequence. Like he can do the somber thing, but he can also do the playful thing. He can do the
sure.
the witty repartee thing. I'm into that. At the same time, we get Diana looking into Cyborg, which is just violently less successful, right?
I was bored. It was
Yeah.
a shame. Gal Gadot's on screen. I should not be bored.
But also Gal Gadot in leather pants. You guys, we see a lot of Gal Gadot's ass in this movie.
We sure do.
like, there's a lot.
There's so okay. How did we? I know how.
You
it's
know
because
how
it was
and
a
why
woman director
and yes.
versus a male director versus just a slew of male directors.
Yes.
It is again so disgustingly infuriating that we did an entire movie where we were seeing women running around like in skirts, but like never once did we zoom in on anybody's ass. Never once was the camera set low so that when she walked back like too forward and we watched her walk, and it was just like, here is her butt. Sex, 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 sex. Women are only objects here for your pleasure, men. Thanks for coming to see our superhero movie. God!
Yep.
You're completely right.
There's so much Wonder Woman butt cheeks in this film.
There really
Which is what, like, why? Again, I know why. They cut off 3 inches of leather from that skirt. In Wonder Woman, a 2.5 hour long movie, like we saw her jumping around, flying around, getting into stuff, getting off of stuff. Never once did I see her ass cheeks. And yet, in this movie, I saw it like half a dozen times.
All she had to do was step out of the scuttler and you saw the whole butt cheek.
Yes,
as her little
wild.
mini skirt
like,
bounced up.
When did we turn her leather warrior skirt into a fucking thong?
I do love that we're referring to that as the scuttler, by the way.
Oh, yeah, no, it's absolutely the scuttler.
Sarah and I had a whole thing in the theater going, they have the scuttler in this film?
They brought back the scuttler. Scuttler, we do love you.
The Lego Batman movie now is just complete canon. With the Justice League
absolutely
movie.
canon.
I'm into that. So, okay, Arthur Curry, yes.
Yes, great
Victor
scene,
Stone,
wonderful.
no.
What is happening here? I don't care.
Barry Allen splitting the difference. Barry Allen closer to...
funny, enjoyable.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just a fun, like, character-driven scene. Enjoyed it. Fine. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I liked it a lot more too.
It was a good after-dinner mint for the disgusting meal that they gave me with the scene right before it.
This is very effective and disquieting metaphor. Yes.
Yeah.
I will say, and this might be jumping slightly ahead, that I feel like the Flash doesn't deserve a place in this film. Only because they constantly keep showing, hey, Superman's just as fast as you. Okay, well, then what's the point of him being here?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
If that's going to be your constant narrative, what's the point of him being here?
The problem with that for me is that it's a Justice League joke. It's the joke of the Justice
It is,
League.
but if that's all, this is your introduction to the Flash and all you're going to talk about is how Superman's just as fast, then why do we need him?
Well, there are a couple of moments where I feel like we were leaning towards something else with the Flash. But right before we're dealing with the parademons, and we get that conversation between the Flash and Batman, between Barry and Bruce, and he's talking about how he's never fought before. Your intro line about
Right.
I love that exchange when Batman responds with "save one person."
Batman's a mentor, and it's brilliant.
That moment was so good.
It's
And then
so
he's like,
good.
and then what? Then you'll know. And then he does it,
you'll know.
and then you see it click.
You see him
That
know.
was brilliant. He's like, oh, that was genius and beautiful.
that was absolutely fantastic. What wasn't fantastic is just after that when we find out that a speedster can be taken out if a parademon just picks them up. You're useless now.
Not good. Yes.
I don't think that's how that works.
Incapacitate him horribly in the course of this movie. Yeah.
And okay, I get that like he's tripping over stuff and like, oh yeah, he trips and he falls down, but like you're going so fast. Aren't you just going to obliterate whatever you come into contact with? Just like based on inertia alone?
Well, he does have canonically a degree of super strength and certainly a healing factor, but but the healing factor is supposed to be associated with his accelerated metabolism. I'm not crazy about the one joke we get about him eating all the time.
He's a snack hole.
If I'd written he's a snack hole, indeed.
I like that joke.
I would have had Barry be eating in every single scene.
Oh, so you would have had him be Robert Downey Jr. in every movie.
Yes, exactly.
He does talk about how he's like, is this a good time to bring up my blood sugar? And the back it's a very good line.
Yeah,
I really like it.
I basically want his entire power set to be fueled by Hostess products.
Yes,
I just want him to be chowing down on a Twinkie through the whole movie. That would have been great.
While we're on this note of talking about the Flash, one of the things that I absolutely loved is Barry's enthusiastic naming of the Batcave. That he's the one who basically he's like, yeah, this is the Batcave. It's a cave for the bat. It's a Batcave.
Yep.
And I think this really is like this idea in the DC comics where Batman's not the one who names his things Bat something.
Yes.
It's always his younger kids. It's Dick Grayson.
A running joke among the Justice League.
So
Batman shows up and he's got like, I don't know, like some sort of new contraption. They're like, oh, okay, so you got like your Batcopter now. Huh? It's like, guys, it's just a helicopter.
Yes.
It's
Just
just
a helicopter that
helicopter.
I made to look like a bat. Okay.
yeah. So
It has to make the symbol when I silhouette it against the moon. Okay.
Ask Vicky Vale.
Yeah, definitely. So Barry fills that role of the youthful enthusiasm of Dick Grayson in a movie that lacks Robin.
To the point that he feels a little bit like Lego Robin, right?
He sure does.
feels just
When he jumps up
when
into
he jumps
the
into
Batmobile,
Batmobile.
so cool.
Oh
And
my
he's just
God.
zooming around.
He's
It's-
Lego
it's
Robin
so
meets the
true.
lesser Quicksilver from the X-Men movies.
I like the Quicksilver from the X-Men movies.
I don't care.
I
Not my
don't-
Quicksilver.
Hashtag not my Quicksilver. I get it. I don't
impossibly
love
fast.
that we completely rip off the visual motif of Quicksilver
Oh,
from the X-Men
absolutely.
movies.
God, he might as
so
well have
that
been wearing headphones.
Exactly right. If we'd done this with a jaunty soundtrack, it would have been 100% Quicksilver
Yeah.
from the X-Men movies. It's fine. I mean, what else do you do with a
What
speedster?
else do you do with a
I guess,
speedster? No, you're
right?
exactly right. Yeah, like Quicksilver and Flash, basically the same dude. Like
We have this connection back to Star Labs. We have Silas Stone, who is kidnapped because something Steppenwolf mother box
something Def Leppard smelled
He can
his
track
magic.
it,
I don't
guess.
know.
Yeah, the magic mystery box.
Here's the
fine.
Not well explained.
But then
Super
again,
not well explained.
just as I'm getting super frustrated with this movie, we cut to the Atlantis sequence and Steppenwolf attacking to get the second mother box, and I am back in again.
Which I will say.
I have. Okay, no, it's a lot of fun, but I do have some problems.
Okay.
Why
Yes,
can't
yes.
Def Leppard breathe underwater?
Yes.
I don't understand. He just shows up. He's just like, okay.
He's basically omnipotent. He's basically a
and you wanna know
god-level
who
monster
else is
from another
basically
planet.
omnipotent in this movie? Superman. There are no stakes. Nothing means anything in this freaking movie.
You have just identified the problem with the Justice League. Hey, let's get the DC's biggest hitters together and put them on a team so they can fight
Each other, I guess.
Yeah, that's the start of every Justice League story.
Basically, pretty much. Oh, and let us also not forget, Diana Prince, literally a god. Literally
Yes.
a god. Gods exist in the DCEU,
Yes.
and Diana is one of them. And also gets fucking knocked down by Parademon. It's fucking bullshit.
It is.
Anyway, so Atlantis is actually super cool, though. Whatever.
It is super cool, but I have a
I
problem
am getting
too.
whiplash from
That's
talking
the thing about this movie.
Yes,
That's exactly
absolutely.
it. I know we say this about every damn film that we watch, but you really could do like an hour-long supercut on YouTube of this film, and it would be fantastic. It would be incomprehensible because we wouldn't have all the scenes where Cyborg explains the shit that is going on, but it would be amazing.
Yeah.
Vinton, what do you have to say about the Atlantis
My
sequence?
one problem with the Atlantis sequence, as cool as it is, when they have to create the air bubble to talk to each other, and I just have to think to myself, do you have to do that every time you want to speak?
normally?
Okay, here's the thing. If you can breathe underwater, that doesn't mean you should live underwater if you can't even talk to each other underwater. Maybe you should just live on land and hang out underwater every once in a while.
I
Very
get
good.
what you're saying, and I totally understand, but I really do think that the effect is so cool.
It was a cool
Like,
effect.
I think, and
Very
also,
cool
and, like,
I'm
it
just
was
thinking
one of-
practically.
No, and I get that too, but like honestly, it's one of the better pieces of CGI that we get, and like I don't know, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Like they can't communicate unless they make like this weird secret bubble. I don't know, just give them telepathy, you guys. It was a super easy fix. That's what I thought it was gonna be, and then they
or
were like,
have
oh.
them make whale sounds. Just get Ellen DeGeneres to do Dory. It'll be fine. That's exactly I need like 30 seconds of Jason Momoa doing that in my life. That's what I need. I love the way that Aquaman swims in that he doesn't swim. He flies underwater.
He
Yes.
zooms underwater.
Yep, I
That's the
appreciate
Superman
that.
effect. I love the physicality of it. I love
Yeah,
the
no, it
control
looked
and
very
the
good.
joy of it. We don't get enough scaffolding. For me, like as someone who cares about the lore of these movies,
Yes.
as dumb as that is, we don't get enough scaffolding for like Atlantis. Atlantis exists,
Like,
you guys.
yeah, oh yeah, Atlantis exists, you guys, and it was above water, but now it's underwater. They were cursed or something. I don't know. Diana said something about it. They got into a fight one time, but we never mentioned that. Don't even worry about it. Not a big deal. No time.
But it is very cool.
It's super cool though.
Yeah.
And then we hard cut back to Gotham City. We cut back to Jim Gordon. Now, mentally, every time I say that, it is GYM Gordon. That's just the way it's going to be.
It's just
Plus,
canon.
the rest of Commissioner Gymnasium Gordon triggers the bat signal, summons everyone to the rooftop so he can say, but parademons, though? Underground someplace. You should check that out. Guys.
How does he know that?
You know what? It doesn't matter. We
Yeah.
just need that
Okay,
information.
all
and
right,
it's the
fine.
one piece of information that Cyborg doesn't give us in the course of this movie.
Yeah.
Or Diana, I guess, if we're in the first
No,
act
yeah,
of this
seriously.
film.
It's
Yeah.
either Diana or it's Diana until we get Cyborg, and then it is
But-
Cyborg forever.
Is this charming? Do we like the beat with the Flash as he sees the bat signal? That's your signal. That's your that was 100% Hello Secret Camera.
That absolutely, yeah. That's your signal.
Yep, it
Also,
absolutely was.
1,000,000,000% Joss Whedon. Yeah.
Very well,
Again, Joss Whedon, when everyone disappears, he
When
goes,
they
I
disappear
guess
off the
I should have
rooftop,
left.
yes.
That seems rude.
And then he I thought it was cute. I enjoyed it. Moment of levity. Yeah, okay. I'm here for that.
I really like the Jim Gordon line. Batman's now playing well with others because we see from Batman versus Superman that Batman was in a really dark place, and you have to assume that was because of the dead Robin that got hinted at. We still haven't seen what happened there, but that drove him over some kind of line. And now that he's back with others, you see that Batman needs other people to keep him in line.
Hey, do you guys think that it was Jared Leto's Joker who killed Robin?
No.
I hope not, because that means that to find out, I need more Jared Leto's Joker, and I don't want that.
I didn't aim for that level of disdain. That came from a secret place deep within me.
Oh, I don't think it's that secret.
No, I love that this Batman has been doing what he does for 20 years and that he has
Yes.
taken his hits. And I don't love that Wonder Woman, as our token woman in this cast, has this backstory where she has been motivated by the death of Steve Trevor for, damn
Holy
near a
fucking
century
shit.
at this
Right.
point.
God,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
But if that wasn't the only example of like a feminine arc that we get in this movie. I would like it as a counterpoint to Batman, that they have both been hurt by the world and thus they have retreated.
Sure. And it did end up later in the film, whenever she's talking to Bruce, and he brings it up, and then she gets mad, and because like initially when they're talking about it, like anytime she brings it up, and she's like, "Oh, well, I lost somebody," and I'm like, "Babe, you lost a lot of people. You lost your aunt, and then you lost Steve. You're only worried about Steve. We're not going to talk about it."
I feel like it was bad scripting, because every time someone would say anything, one would be like, "That reminds me of Steve.
That reminds me. You remind me of a lover I once took."
Lovers can only be taken.
Yeah. But no, like it was really frustrating for a long time. And then it was sort of redeemed for me whenever Bruce and Diana are having the conversation, and he's like, you basically when she says, when you lead, you get people killed.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. I was being reactionary. Yeah. And I was like, okay, fine. Cool. Okay, yes, you earned that. Okay, I forgive that now.
Which is, of course, a parallel to Batman's experience too. Presumably, we can infer from the story of the killed Robin from Batman versus Superman that's probably very similar to his experience too.
Yeah. I did really like all the scenes in the Batcave. It looked more like of a useful Batcave, less of a cave and more of like a rich man's garage.
Yeah.
Under his lake house. I love Wayne Manor on the lake. It's a very nice
It's really nice. Yes. I also really like that we get a lot of scenes in the room with all the armor, which really reminds me of Batman 89 and his room with all the armor.
What do you guys make of that sequence where Batman and Wonder Woman, where Bruce and Diana are just talking as they walk along by the lake? It's very exposition heavy.
Yes.
But I found myself really liking the two of them together. Not necessarily shipping them, but really enjoying their chemistry.
Yeah, they did have good chemistry.
Companionable, respectful kind of chemistry.
No, I really did like them together. You've already mentioned in the scene where she pops his shoulder back into place, which... I don't know if this is a Whedon bit, but it felt like a Whedon bit to me, because it just made me think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer whenever like Faith had to like jam her shoulder back into place, and like she was with Xander when that happened, right?
Yeah, Whedon does like dislocated shoulders.
He does.
Because it's a grievous injury that you can heal immediately.
He loves dislocated shoulders and sexual tension together in one scene. That's his whole deal. But no, I quite liked it. I love me a good walk and talk. And I mean, it was pretty. And then you see Cyborg like creeping up in the background. And of course, I'm instantly like, okay, well, fuck this. No, this is bullshit. Why are we not? But then again, later, Diana's like, oh, well, if we wanted to fight you, we would have fought you at the lake. And it's like, okay, fine.
And I like that she says we, because that implies that Bruce also was completely aware that Cyborg was there and neither one of them was taking it. I like that. I like the textuality there. From this point, we move into what is like, I guess, our first real major set piece of the movie, which is the fight at the abandoned facility, the underground/underwater fight. I kind of hated this entire sequence.
The Scuttler was nice.
The Scuttler was cool.
Scuttler was great. Flash rescuing people was great.
Yes.
Arthur showing up at the end to stop the water.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Dividing the seas like Moses.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty strong.
Yep.
I enjoyed that. I don't like the way that Wonder Woman is depowered for the purposes of this film.
Not only depowered, but also like not moving like a warrior anymore. Now moving like an object for men to stare at.
There are moments when she has really great athletic, balletic kind of movements in the air of the sort that we saw through Wonder Woman. But you're absolutely right. There are a lot of sequences in this where she's posing more than she is fighting.
Yes.
And wow, we really took the notes from the audience that we like it when Wonder Woman falls and does that 3-point action landing that we love so much. And we like it when she smirks at the camera. Because we do those two things a lot in this film.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't complain because I like them too. Like, I'm the problem here.
Well, I mean, okay, like the smirk though is not inherently sexual, right? I'm
not convinced that the falling from a great height and doing that Wonder Woman sudden landing, slow rise back to
like
her
whatever.
feet
I'm into that, and I think that I feel pretty good about that. I don't think that I have to like hate myself for loving that.
No, I don't think so either. Because at least in those moments she's empowered, right?
Yes.
That's a cool thing for her to be doing, but. Yeah, I don't love.
And I'm not having to see her nethers.
Having so much trouble. It's either she has to struggle fighting the parademons, and therefore everyone struggles fighting the parademons,
right?
Or they're just cannon fodder that everyone can take out.
Yeah, and it really does change, like from scene to scene. Like I don't know, like it was so wild. Like why does Wonder Woman not know how to fight anymore? Like what happened? How did this? I don't understand. Like She's had her powers longer than literally anybody that she's working with right now.
Did make me wonder, though, about that controversial last scene in the Wonder Woman movie where she's, leaping/flying off of the building in Paris. Yeah. Is that the first time she's put on her costume since the war? Has she really been in hiding for the better part of a century? Is she rusty? I mean, I guess it's not canonically the first time because she did go and fight Doomsday with, Batman and Superman. The one time that she met Superman before they snuck off for a coffee date where they talked a lot about their lives, shared their stories. But yes, is she just rusty? Was that the first time that she came back to action?
I don't know. Okay, what is Wonder Woman 2 gonna be? Just Diana being like, no, I can't. I lost Steve, and I'm not gonna. Absolutely not, because fucking Patty Jenkins is in charge of that film, and we're not gonna do that shit.
I want her mentoring Barry Allen in exactly the way that Tony Stark mentors Peter Parker in
Spider-Man. Oh my god.
That movie, please and thank you.
Oh my god. Flash Prom starring Wonder Woman.
Actually, I want Bruce and Diana parenting Barry. That's what I want for that movie.
Thanks, Bad Dad. Thanks,
Super Dad.
Barry, listen to your mother. Listen to your Martha. I mean mother.
No, you're right. We've already had that movie and it's Lego Batman again. Diana playing the role of Bigo. I just want it very much, you guys. I want it very much.
Oh, Gal Gadot would make a good Batwoman.
Yes, if we hadn't already, you're right. I would love her as Barbara, but no. So this is our turning point in the movie where Cyborg reveals, oh, actually, no, the Mother Box, we've had it for a while. Also, I'm part Mother Box in a way that we're never really going to go into that much. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It couldn't possibly matter a damn in the course of this film.
Totally fine. Totally not a problem.
And Bruce tells us his idea. Bruce says, hey, you know what we need to fight this guy who wants the Mother Boxes is to take the Mother Box into public and use it to resurrect the Superman.
Yes. Yeah.
This guy who doesn't seem that powerful, really.
Sure.
Like we could never probably beat him without Superman.
Right.
Yeah, nothing has happened so far to make us think that actually things are going to go real bad.
Yes.
Or maybe it has. Maybe there's a version of this movie where we're supposed to see the complete devastation of the Amazonians as significant, the complete devastation of the Atlanteans as something significant, but the movie doesn't quite communicate that.
Yeah.
Steppenwolf is either serious enough that we need to resurrect Superman or just not a big problem, it turns out.
Yeah, he really did switch back and forth. And I mean, like, I know that, like, I keep saying that about various things throughout this movie, but, like, it really could not... It couldn't land on, like, what it wanted to do. Because, I mean, like, obviously we want to see our heroes, like, kicking ass and taking names and being awesome, right? But then, like, okay, so if they, I mean, like, again, Diana is a literal god. If she can't take out these parademons, then what the hell is Barry Allen gonna do? He's just fast. Like, he just runs good.
They do show the parademons just picking him up and completely making him useless.
True, exactly. And, like, I'm not sure about...
Like either, so it's...
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I kind of feel like the problem with Steppenwolf is that we probably did see some scene where he became, like, the worst villain ever, and you're like, yeah, you need to bring back Superman. But we forgot because he was completely forgettable. And every time he's not on the screen, I forget he exists.
Like, seriously, literally in the movie theater, at one point we cut back to Steppenwolf, and I out loud go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Okay. We should probably fight him at some point. Oh, the end of the movie, you think? Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool.
This is a Justice League movie. This is the DC universe. We were always going to bring Superman back, which was why it was so ridiculous that no one was talking about Superman in the promotional material for this movie. And yet...
Yeah. Did we need to spend 15 to 20 minutes with nonsensical plot bringing Superman back when in the comics... He just wakes up because he was in Kryptonian hibernation healing.
Yes, the idea
of
the...
Oh my God, that would have been so much better!
They even teased that.
Of the movie.
That was the teaser for BVS with the dirt floating on top. He's not dead, he's alive. And yet...
Can you go back and retcon that dirt floating above his grave? What was going on?
Yeah,
I don't know, man. No, that was the Mother Boxes waking up and the giant... No, who fucking gives a shit?
That was the death of Superman calling out the dark side. Hey, send that guy no one cares about. Don't come yourself, though, because we need more movies.
Come yourself, because we're going to have another one of these movies in 2 years, and we really need to hold our big guns back. Our big guns, excuse me. We'll get to that in just a little bit.
One of the other problems here is Batman is so into this idea that even though everyone else is going to disagree with him, he's like, no, it's definitely a good idea. And Wonder Woman's like, what if he comes back evil?
Yeah.
He's like, it doesn't matter. It's still necessary. What happened to the Batman just a movie ago that said, even if there's a 1% chance of Superman turning bad, we have to kill him?
See, but again, I like this idea, like theoretically, if this is a Batman that is not driven by the imminent threat of Steppenwolf and the destruction of the Earth, but is driven by his regret for what he did, and there's certainly a version of that Batman present in this film, I kind of love that idea.
I don't feel that, but I could see that being a good idea.
There are moments when we get that Batman, but mostly it's, oh no, Steppenwolf, we've got to fight him, we need a guy in blue, because have you seen our poster? It's just lacking blue, you guys.
But for real, biggest complaint, they cap this movie at 2 hours and we waste 15 to 20 minutes dealing with this. And it doesn't make any sense. It's nonsense.
So that we can have a geyser of Kryptonian amniotic fluid spraying into the air above Metropolis.
I hated it in Batman versus Superman and I hate it here. I don't understand why. I don't understand the birthing chamber inside of the Kryptonian ship. It makes no goddamn sense to me. I don't like. Oh, okay. Well, good thing we have Cyborg here. He can just like jam his little tendrils into it, and it's totally fine. No ice beat Krypton.
We also need Barry to run fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Barry,
okay.
run fast.
Yeah.
If we had Balloon Man with his 1,000 balloons that we could rub against our heads to generate enough static electricity to jumpstart the mother box, that would also have worked. But he's got Barry, so that's fine.
Oh my god! Like, I'm Batman. Everybody has to listen to me, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, it's so dumb. I hate it.
Sarah, that does actually raise an important question.
Yes.
Here. Did you feel that this was, mansplaining? Did you feel
like hella?
Right. Okay. I was genuinely curious.
Yeah. No. It was like straight up. Batman's like, no, we need to raise Superman from the dead, and Diana is like, well, hang on, like 1 second.
The Amazonian.
Like, 1 second. Literal God. Hi, Diana, daughter of Zeus. Literal, actual God. Maybe no, though. Like this never goes well. And obviously, in this movie, it went fine. Like whatever. But dead people should stay dead.
Without Wonder Woman, Bruce Wayne would have no idea what's going on here.
Exactly.
Her people lived through this and know this battle.
Yes.
And he's just like, no, hold on, sweetie. Listen to me.
No, like Diana, sit down.
I'm Batman.
Shut up. I'm Batman.
Right. He will actually serve, but good. No, it's terrible.
It's so bad.
But then we get Superman.
Yeah, but Superman almost evil for a second.
Hey!
The Justice League has to fight the Justice League. It's
fine.
I don't care about that much.
And we get the Whedon line inserted in where he references back, "Do you bleed?" to Batman, which is very much not Snyder's vision of that.
Nope, not at all.
So then this movie forgets.
Which almost feels sarcastic in this movie.
And Batman doesn't even show up for a while. I feel like if Batman had just showed up
Where
first.
the hell was Batman?
Everyone else is just standing there waiting. And Batman just shows up at the very end.
Because he's like standing back because, I was the last thing you saw before you died. I probably shouldn't be there.
I like to think, okay, so they wake, Barry does his thing, we got the box, we got all this stuff, Superman wakes up, shoots out. I like to think that Diana just looks at Bruce and he's just like, oh.
I'm going to hang back, guys. I'm going to hang back.
Box,
you are on
Bruce.
timeout, Bruce.
So then we get.
Then let's talk about Superman. Okay.
So let's talk about.
That's fine. Sarah, you do not have as strong a feeling about Superman as a concept as Vint and I do.
Yep.
This is, as we've said earlier, a good version of Superman. I think as far as we're concerned. Vint, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we feel good about this guy.
Yeah.
Do you like him? Are you interested in him?
Are we talking post team fight?
Yes, post team fight.
Oh yeah,
back
no, he's
to
fine.
the Kent family farm,
totally fine. Whatever.
Standing out in the field like it's Superman for all seasons.
Yes, no, it was actually like a really nice callback. No, it was very lovely, very great. That's totally fine. What I actually want to talk about is when he's fighting with everybody in front of the toppled Superman statue, in front of the memorial to all of the people that he killed in Man of Steel.
People who died, presumably some
all
of the people who were
that
also
he
killed by other people.
As a direct result
of his actions.
He could have led that battle anywhere else.
They call it manslaughter for
Metropolis.
a reason, although at this point I think it may just be genocide. Anyway, Diana uses the lasso, wraps up Superman in it, and says, Kal-El, last son of Krypton.
Yeah.
What? Hey, you guys remember all of those amazing, wonderful, brilliant, character-driven scenes in Batman vs. Superman whenever Diana and Clark were just sitting down having ice cream together
Any kind
and
of
talking
conversation?
about you guys, they don't say two fucking words to each other.
Yep.
The only thing Superman even says about Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman is when she shows up, he looks at Bruce and says, "Is she with you?" To which Batman responds, "I thought she was with you. Bitch, you emailed her 30 minutes ago."
Yep, golden lasso around Superman. Kal-El, I'm sorry, the truth is I don't know you. Who are you?
I don't know who you are.
I remember seeing you, I think, before I died.
Once?
Did I die?
Absolutely.
Did I even ever bother to learn your name?
It's a hard-edged retcon, but I'll take it because I like Wonder Woman being the voice of sanity, a kind of pragmatic hope. Yeah.
There is a version of Superman. There is a version of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman where that actually did happen.
And I
where
want that
Clark
movie.
and Diana really did connect over ice cream and talking about humanity. And that's amazing.
This is one of the accusations I think that's leveled against Justice League is that it reads in large part like an apology for the last 2 or 3 films that we've had in the series. Yeah, which...
And I don't want that. I don't want to be reminded of those movies. I came here for a completely different experience.
I guess actually before we get to Superman on the farm, we should talk about the big gun we should talk about the reintroduction of Lois Lane into the narrative at this point. We've had a couple of brief scenes earlier with her and Martha Kent, one of the Marthas, one of our bushel full of Marthas. But here she is the big gun. She is Bruce Wayne's secret weapon to talk down Superman.
Which did surprise me.
That's a high-risk strategy.
I thought it was going to be
John
Martha.
Kryptonian Bullet, right?
I thought it was going to be the mom. I thought Bruce was going to be Martha.
That's really interesting. I actually liked this quite a lot. I actually love the idea of Bruce being like, don't worry, I've got like a big gun, Kryptonian Bullet, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, it's Lois. Like, I love that. I love
it was
that.
well done.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like that would be a Wonder Woman beat, though, right? Like, does Bruce understand human beings enough? Does he understand love enough?
I liked the beat that when Wonder Woman realized what it was, she was like, oh, okay, you're not an idiot. Yeah. I think that beat was there.
Doesn't she even say to him, doesn't she look at him and she's like, big gun, huh? And he's just like,
I love this idea of Bruce just making that face.
Here's the thing about Bruce Wayne. He has a contingency plan for every contingency plan, which I think is admirable. Like, that's a good thing to have.
So the plan to resurrect Superman is such a great plan that we will, in fact, abandon one of the mother boxes that Steppenwolf needs to bring hell to Earth.
I mean, to be fair, I guess it did like explode out of the thing with Superman, but then like we all got to go deal with Superman, and like, why couldn't Bruce grab the box while
Barry,
he was like,
what is Barry doing?
What is Barry doing?
He's just standing there.
Go get the mother box,
Get
Barry.
the mother
But
box.
no,
Yeah,
we have
doofus.
to move into our final fight without Superman to aid them. Our heroes have to travel to Russia, where we have this completely unnecessary beat where there's no way.
Oh, you mean Sokovia? When they go to Sokovia? When they go to Sokovia
They
to go deal with the bad guys
definitely
over in
100%
Sokovia
go to
with the
Sokovia.
Subalterns in Sokovia?
With the one family that's in danger?
Yeah.
The one singular family?
Baron Zemo's family in danger
We're going to
in
pretend
Sokovia.
that there might be other people, but we only see one family
I
particularly.
love that we were cutting out to that family through the course of the movie.
was
I felt like
really
there was going to be a
unnecessary.
reason, like one of their kids was going to be a superhero or something.
That's what I thought too.
I was waiting for the Wanda Maximoff reveal. I was just
Right?
waiting for that little girl.
I was thinking that joke, but it's like, oh, and then Quicksilver comes in and saves baby Wanda.
Yeah,
Absolutely
Zatanna, right?
Yeah.
So the team fight their way through the parademons to reach Steppenwolf. We get some good Batman stuff happening here.
Sure,
with
yeah.
The plane and there's a little bit where he sends the team away that feels again like the Lego Batman movie. It's just
You
fine.
get out of here, Scuttler.
And then we get Superman showing up back in the costume, and it's great from a character perspective for me. I like this Superman
Yes.
very much.
Yeah.
I like this team dynamic actually quite a lot. But the mechanics of the fight are incomprehensible. I have
Utterly,
no idea what is happening
And
at any
again,
point in this.
zero stakes, doesn't matter.
Yes.
Iron Maiden is basically a god. Superman is basically a god. Diana, literally a god. Like, everybody is like punching each other and fighting each other, and nobody's getting hurt, and it doesn't really matter. And it's complete nonsense, and everything is just total bullshit at this point.
And we even ruined the stakes for the family when we make the joke of the Flash is going to save this family, but he's taking forever because Superman literally shows up while he's running to save the family, does a whole thing, and then goes, oh, people need saving, and quicker than the Flash goes and just picks up a whole building and saves a whole building while the Flash is saving this one car.
Cute visual gag,
could
but
have saved
still,
as well in that same time.
Got to tell you, that also reads like Joss Whedon.
Oh, no, it absolutely
absolutely.
is. Yeah.
Let's invest a lot of emotional energy into caring about this family and then save them as a punchline. Maybe not the most responsible storytelling that we could have, but you're right. It's Sokovia all over again. And
Also, the structural
it's fine.
integrity of that building, all the people in it died when Superman set it down.
Superman has some ability to extend some kind of structural integrity field around buildings.
He's got
that
a companion field.
Yeah, it is a companion field. You're right. He learned it from Faith. It's just fine.
And it's really unfortunate that we spent all that time to resurrect Superman, only to have him not show up for a while in the final fight scene because we didn't want him to end it too quickly.
Exactly right,
yeah,
which is,
yeah.
of course, inevitable. The final mechanics of the battle are, fine, completely expected, but then we get this weird twist where it turns out that Steppenwolf is, for the first time ever, afraid. Are you telling me, movie? Are you actually telling me, movie, that Barry Allen is not in this moment afraid?
Right?
This is exactly what I was thinking. What about all the
Right?
heroes? There's some of them that are afraid, I think.
Yeah.
Does Steppenwolf have more fear? Like, is his fear greater because of like his omnipotent,
Is it like
phenomenal
putting off a
cosmic
certain
power?
pheromone because it's the first time he's ever felt fear?
I have no idea. There's no way of reading this finale that makes any sense to me. The only explanation is that no member of the Justice League is at this moment afraid, which I think might make them psychopathic. Like, I think that might make them actually emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
That's really problematic.
Well, Batman certainly. Batman fears
Batman-
nothing.
Batman-
is dead inside.
Daredevil, absolutely fine in this movie. Matt Murdock's just doing fine.
Yep, yeah.
No parademon has ever seen him. It's just awesome. And then, as frustrated as I am with this, with of course the sudden disappearance of Steppenwolf, because God knows we don't actually want to resolve this. We want to bring him back for Justice League 2 in 2019.
Yeah, he's going to be the most. He's the most. He's the breakout character of this film. We have to use him again.
Jesus.
Steppenwolf will return in
with PS4 graphics this time.
Shit.
Get an upgrade.
I don't know. What is the mother box doing creating these weird crystalline tremor snakes jumping everywhere?
It is supposed to be transforming the Earth into Apocalypse.
Right. Yeah.
Why it is doing that, we don't know. We don't know within the frame of the comics, and we don't know within the frame of the movie either. It's an Apocalypse engine is what's happening.
An Apocalypse engine.
Because these movies only work if
everything is at stake.
If the fate of the world is hanging in the balance.
Nothing is at stake. I was not at any point was I all concerned about anybody.
Also, without explanation and completely mystifying to anyone who doesn't know the comic books really deeply, the place becomes New Genesis after it stops becoming Apocalypse.
That's straight up Tafiti's at the end of Moana,
that's
right?
That's why all the garden stuff is.
They put the heart of Tafiti back, and everything's cool now.
It starts flowering everywhere because that's the way New Genesis works. New Genesis is lots of flowers and gardens, and so for no reason at all, it starts becoming New Genesis.
And then Baby Wanda Maximoff jams her face into an alien plant. I'm like, babe, no, don't
you
do
just
that.
got powers.
Don't do that.
I don't know if you know this, but you have powers now. You're going to show up in Justice League 9 in 2035. Mm-hmm. Frustrating, absolutely frustrating. But then again, the movie zigs when you think it's going to zag, and we get a series of epilogue scenes, most of which I actually really like. I was genuinely moved by Bruce and Diana returning to Wayne Manor.
Yes.
And deciding to restore the old place.
Yes.
And the conversation about a big table with 6 chairs
room
and
to grow.
room for more.
For more.
I love that.
It was
that
really
was
good.
Exactly what I wanted. The restoration of the Kent farm is great. I don't necessarily love the beat of Barry getting a job at Central City PD.
I don't care. I didn't care.
I did it, Dad. I got a job. I'm actually doing something with my life now.
Yeah. I didn't really care.
Because that's not a Barry thing.
As opposed to,
He's just
watching
supposed to be that
K-pop
way.
and Rick and Morty in my garage. I guess that's where I was living.
Yeah. I do like the beat that Bruce Wayne bought the bank.
No, the best part of that is that, Clark looks at him and is like, oh, what did you say? The guy's at the bank. And then I lean over to Vinton and I say, well, he bought the bank. And then he says, I bought the bank.
So you could have written this movie.
I could have. I would have done a better job.
You didn't.
For some reason, that line reminded me of a line that we passed over earlier when Aquaman and Batman are first meeting, and Aquaman says, "A strong man is strongest alone." Ever heard of that? And he goes, "That's not the saying. That's the opposite of the saying."
That's never been the saying.
It seems like a super cheesy line, but I really love it. I really love it.
Ben Affleck reading Joss Whedon dialogue.
Yeah, it turns out Ben Affleck's great at Joss Whedon dialogue.
I don't like that stuff. Turns out Ben Affleck used to be a comedic actor 20 years ago, but it's fine.
And then he became Batman 20 years ago.
One scene that we passed over quickly that we should talk about too, Aquaman sitting on the lasso, Wonder Woman's lasso, and just pouring his heart out.
Yeah.
How did this scene work for you?
Yeah, that's what I was curious of too.
I actually quite liked it. Entirely on the strength of Jason Momoa's performance, I actually liked it.
My same exact feelings. I really love that he's just saying, "Oh, I'm fine with dying, whatever, and I hate you guys. You guys are all dumb. You're just beautiful, and actually, I want to live." And then you see that it's the last.
And I guess I'm just
that was
afraid.
pretty perfect for me. What about you, Sarah? How did you feel?
I think that I did enjoy. I mean, it was a lot. It was very divergent from what we had been doing for a long time, and this is the sorest thumb of all of the Joss Whedon scenes.
Yes, that's maybe fair. Actually.
Yeah. But I mean, Jason Momoa is astonishing in this. I thought it was really good. I thought that it was really cute. I think it was at this point that I was like, no, I ship them. The only thing I didn't like was the last 2 lines where he looks at Barry and he's like, if you tell anybody about this, you'll meet every prawn I ever met.
No.
Unnecessary. Just walk away.
Yeah, I hated that.
That was dumb.
Yeah,
you didn't need that.
You didn't need to button that scene at all.
No,
and B,
you
don't need to have Aquaman be this jock asshole.
Right, because he's not a jock asshole.
He's not.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
So, no. Great. Then we continue wrap up our series of epilogue scenes. We get Cyborg working with his father, increasing his abilities, getting his cosmetic
a better
upgrade.
body, I guess.
About damn time. We get a brief shot of Aquaman returning to Atlantis, and as we say, we get Clark resuming his role as Superman and bringing hope once more to the world. And then we get a couple of post-credit sequences.
Yup.
I really like the first ones because I'm a nerd for this JLA stuff.
Yes.
Because I'm a nerd for this whole, when you do the JLA, the question is, but could Superman beat the Flash? Like, is this a contest that would have any merit?
Yeah.
I like the joke.
This is something that happens pretty often in the comics. Most specifically, this references Superman number 199, where they both have a race to decide who is the fastest man alive. And I really like the jokes here that if I win, you're off the team. Just messing with you.
Superman made a joke in a movie.
Yeah.
He sure did.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that, if nothing else. Yeah. I don't think that Superman should be allowed to fly, you guys. That seems inherently
that's
unfair.
unfair. Yeah.
Inherently unfair, but yeah.
So,
It's 'cause he's
in
not as
comics
fast running.
canon, who is faster, Superman or
It
the
is
Flash?
almost always a tie, or they are interrupted by supervillains halfway through.
Yeah.
There has never
Or
been
the
a
comic just
completely
does
definitive
exactly like the
answer.
movie and just ends with them
Yes.
going, all right, let's find out. And
Okay.
Because we'll just never answer that question.
Fine.
it's the Flash. It's obviously the Flash.
Since
There's
the
no
Flash
reason
can
for
run
it to be
That's
fast
like
enough to
his
travel
only
through time, you guys.
power?
Right.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
literally his only power. It's his only power. I mean, I understand that Superman has all the powers. Like, anyway.
Superman should have fewer powers. This
He should
version
have
of
fewer
Superman
powers.
to work with the JLA should be a little toned down, but we're still getting Man of Steel Superman, where he is literally, a Christ figure.
Yeah.
And thematically, that's really interesting, but practically and logistically, for the structuring of the story, maybe somewhat less so. Then we cap our credits with
No, that was our only end credit scene,
Yeah,
right?
no, the
that
other
was
one, yeah,
the only
that was
one?
it, yeah.
I had a
was it.
weird sugar-induced fever dream right at the end of the movie.
Did you? Tell us about that.
Where Lex Luthor and Slade Wilson showed up, you guys.
Wait, that's stupid.
Yeah, no,
that's
that would
dumb.
be a terrible
Lex
dumb thing to do.
escaped prison, you're
Yeah,
telling
no,
me?
After having overcome Steppenwolf, after having overcome the literal apocalypse happening on Earth, we should definitely put together a team of bad guys that can challenge the Justice League.
Which consists of Lex Luthor, the most weeniest looking guy version of Lex Luthor, and a human assassin. Oh my gosh, how will the Justice League ever survive?
How will we do it? Not
Jesse
even a Kryptonian
Eisenberg
bullet.
as Lex Luthor is literally the exact opposite of Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury in every conceivable way.
Yes.
Wow,
I'd
you're
like to
right.
talk to you.
Yeah,
I'd like to
yeah.
talk to you about the
This is
Justice
the
League
mirror
Dark
universe.
Initiative.
Yes. Wow.
Or the Injustice League Initiative.
Or yes, any of the other
The
versions.
the Doom
Legion of
League-
Doom.
Legion of Doom. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Legion of the Doom Initiative. Oh wait, can't be the Doom Initiative. Sorry, we don't have that one.
I feel like, as we've discussed this movie, as we've moved through it, that we have been alternately shouting in fury and frustration and shouting in great enthusiasm
Yeah,
and
back and
praise of this
forth.
movie. There's almost nothing in this movie about which we are indifferent.
Yup.
Does that make it better than a boring movie?
Yes.
Okay, good. So say that at least. It's not dull. You guys
It's-
will
yeah.
at least have emotional responses to this
Yes,
film
yes.
while you watch it.
I will say there was no reason not to tease Darkseid at the end of this. Eisenberg and Deathstroke, completely pointless, worthless.
Don't care.
You should have
literally-
teased
You
Darkseid.
introduced
We all
Led
wanted
Zeppelin
Darkseid.
as one of the new gods, and you're gonna bring me back over to freaking
It is
Lex Luthor? I don't
Joke
care.
how bad that is. Like
Yeah.
a joke.
Oh,
how
it's so
that
bad.
is.
So
Unless
bad.
we're not queuing up the next Justice League movie. Like maybe they weren't so confident about this film, and instead we're queuing up a solo Superman movie, a solo Batman movie, a solo Flash movie. We might be leaning in a different direction, but that's a bad choice for the end of this film.
It was
If
bad.
that's the option that you have presented to you, just don't take it. Just don't
Seriously,
do it.
like, we know
Just
that
cap it with a
Steppenwolf-
feel-good
yeah.
scene between Superman and Flash.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, like, we know that Steppenwolf didn't die. He just, like, phased off to Apocalypse, I assume. God, I hate the way that is spelled. I did read that once in a Wonder Woman comic, and I was so thrown, I had to put it down and walk away. Like, just show him going back to... Did you say Darkseid's his nephew? God, comics are stupid.
In this film, it looks more like Darkseid's his uncle.
It looks like Darkseid is like the grandpa of... I mean, I'm sorry. It looks like Steppenwolf is like the grandpa of the fucking universe. Like,
Could be.
it's
Like
so
Steppenwolf
bad.
is very much so, just this newer guy that no one cares about, very
Yeah,
low on
yeah.
the totem pole.
So bad. I was astonished at how bad Steppenwolf was.
There's a really interesting setup in the comic books where Darkseid actually promotes Steppenwolf and makes him the general of all the armies of Apocalypse as a way of killing Steppenwolf. He casts him into battle, expecting him to die. And
Wait,
if
so
there's
he's
a reveal,
straight up like King David and
King
Uriah?
David and Uriah.
Oh my
There's a
god!
reveal in the Justice League 2 movie that was the plan all along. Oh no, I didn't think you had a hope in hell of defeating the Justice League. I
They have
thought
a literal
Cyborg could have
god.
taken you out.
You know that,
Are you
like, yeah.
crazy? What were you thinking? Mother Box is great. Maybe come up with a plan. Take it again. Take it a fourth time.
What is wrong with you?
don't
What was your favorite part of this movie, Vinton?
It's not one singular part, but it was the chemistry between the actors. I think there was a lot of good chemistry going on here between Batman and Wonder Woman. Superman, when he finally becomes, the Boy Scout that we all deserved, or maybe not deserved.
That we need desperately,
just
please.
The dialogue, the back and forth. I think what we're going to get maybe a little backlash of the way I talk about how the jokes don't fit necessarily with the dramatic. There's a lot of things that don't fit well. They don't mesh together. And the problem here is the way it worked in Ragnarok is they meshed perfectly.
Yes.
They perfectly balanced
exactly.
the humor and the drama. Here it feels jolting and the whiplash that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
But I think the chemistry between the members of the Justice League is the best part of this film.
Yeah, I'll take inspirational speeches. I love the inspirational speech that Bruce gives to Barry. I really like that. And then reciprocally, I love the inspirational speech that Diana gives to Bruce.
Yes.
I like this very much. We talked back when we were talking about Justice League. Is Diana going to soften Bruce?
Yeah.
And she absolutely does.
Yeah.
She
Yes.
humanizes him. I mean, that process has already begun when we come into this movie, which is a really good choice. That's a really strong direction to take it. I like that. I like the very subtle things that the movie has to say about Diana leading as well.
That is actually my favorite part of this
Yeah.
entire film. Like her character arc throughout, where she straight up says, the reason why I haven't been out and doing the thing is because whenever you lead, you get people killed, and then she realizes, okay, I can't just not lead. Like I literally am female Captain America. This is literally my job. I'm going to be the leader of this team, and I love that. I feel like it's like one of the few notes on Wonder Woman that they like totally nailed, and I just adore that. Whenever she like really just stands up and like just I don't know, like that was great. That was great. I loved it.
I've just realized that we've come into this trilogy backwards because we started off with Batman versus Superman, which is a Civil War story, and now we're doing Sokovia, which is the Ultron story.
Yes.
That means that the next Justice League movie is going to be The Avengers,
Yeah, how's
which
that look?
could be great.
Yeah.
That might be all right.
Just a simple team story. I mean, kind of into that now.
On that note, I'm really looking forward to the Justice League moving forward because this did set up things, while not handled perfectly, that I think I will enjoy. I will enjoy the way Superman is if he continues down this route.
Yeah.
And I will enjoy the way that this team works together if it continues down this route.
Yes.
I could see really good things coming.
You can't do another Superman solo story in this
No.
universe. He's done now.
He's done.
Tapped.
He's
he
finished.
needs to be everyone's favorite dad. He can come
Yep.
in and save the day. He can be a beacon. He can be a symbol. But I'm not sure that this guy can be a character anymore. But that's okay. That's basically what he is in the DC universe most of the time.
Right.
And that works out just fine.
Yeah.
So I'm eager to see what we do with the inevitable Darkseid conflict that's coming. Who knows?
I don't know. It's
The
gonna
thing
be
I'm
fine.
looking most forward to is the Amazonians finally getting a kick-ass battle scene again. Please, Wonder Woman 2. I can't wait for you, Patty. Some redemption.
Yay, Patty, come back to us.
I
don't know. Do you think it's going to be a contemporary movie, or do you think it's going to take place?
It has to be. It can't at this point be a retro movie.
I
don't
guess
think
not.
that we can slot another adventure with suitably apocalyptic consequences into the
Sure.
DC timeline at this point.
Yeah.
And what I think I would like at this point, okay, Themyscira has just been wrecked, right? It has just been destroyed
Yes.
by Steppenwolf taking the mother box.
Also,
I wanna
doesn't
pick up
have
with
the
that.
shield anymore, right?
That seems to be the case.
Yeah.
I wonder the exact implications of the firing of the warning arrow and setting fire to the Parthenon or whatever it was,
Yeah,
the
whatever the
shrine
fuck
of the
happened.
Amazons
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Greece. Like the exact consequences of that. I want Themyscira to be exposed now, and I want Wonder Woman 2 to be about Wonder Woman going back to Themyscira.
Yes.
She hasn't seen her mother in a century. I want that story.
Woof. Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no, that movie would wreck me. No.
Yes.
I don't know. I'd be kind of okay with Wonder Woman just going around fighting crime Spider-Man style. Like you
Also
see her at
that-
the end
also
where she
very
has
good.
the criminal tied up with the last one. He's just spilling his guts to the police
Oh, I
officer about
love
all the
that
criminal
moment. That was
activity.
so good.
It's
While
fantastic.
she's talking to the people and being a public figure. Yes.
Which I love.
Yes.
Holy crap, I love that so
Yes,
much.
it's
Yes,
really good.
yes, yes.
So much good in this movie, you
Yeah.
guys. Please,
But also
please.
so much bad.
I
Yes.
hate putting
Whiplash.
stuff like this at the feet of individuals, but you know what? We have enough of a body of work now to make this judgment. Please stop letting Zack Snyder direct things.
Yeah.
Please?
Yeah.
Stop him
More
from doing
Patty.
this.
You know what? Patty, come back. You can blame it all
Yes.
on Zach.
Yeah. That's a perfect note upon which to conclude this podcast.
I think so.
There it
Thank
is.
you guys so much for listening. We're going to be taking next week off because it's Thanksgiving and we're going to be with our families.
Because we're going to be thankful and read
We're
some
going to be
comics.
thankful and read some comics and not do a podcast episode. But what are we doing after that, Vinton?
We will be covering, because of the Hulu adaptation coming out of The Runaways, we will be covering Volume 1 of The Runaways by Brian K. Vaughan and Adrian Alfona. This is just Volume 1. There's more to this story that we might cover in the future, but we're just covering Volume 1 for now. Pride and Joy.
It's one of my favorite comic books.
I'm so
ever.
excited.
It has one of my favorite first pages ever. I love this book. Sarah, you haven't read this at all,
I haven't
right?
at all. No.
Perfect. This is going to be so much fun. You're going to love this book.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. If you guys enjoy the show, if you guys want to talk to us, you can do so over on Twitter. You can find us at Excelsior Cast. You can find me personally at Also Grab the Salt.
I'm at Paper Bullets.
And I'm at Fleshy there, and you can hear all about what's going on this week of the world of comics on my other podcast, Read Brave, from the Graphomania Podcast Network.
It's so good.
It is.
If you enjoy what we do over here, if this episode brought you joy in any way, shape, or form, maybe you can kick us a little bit of money so that we can be even more thankful on Thanksgiving. You can head on over to patreon.com/Common Room Radio, where you can kick us $1 a month or whatever you can afford, and that helps us to continue making this show be the beautiful, wonderful, crazy, comic, superhero-inspired mess that it is that I love with every ounce of my being.
And if you don't have any money, you can still help us out by leaving a rating or a review saying how thankful you are for our show. That would help us out quite a lot.
Yes.
And speaking of thanks and gratitude, our sincere thanks and gratitude to the wonderful Becca Eller, who
Yes!
is fantastic
Yeah.
and whom we adore, who sent us a little care package here. We all now have Spider-Man advent calendars.
Which I'm so excited
Yeah,
about.
I'm very
yeah.
excited
yeah.
about this.
Very
that.
good.
It's going to be
very,
very
good.
Yes. At the very least, I think the Excelsior Twitter account will put out a few pictures of us opening our Excelsior.
And then just eating
advent
all of the
calendars.
chocolate.
Is that what you do with an advent calendar, Sarah?
No,
Are
you
one
have
of
to
those
do
kids?
it
You take
once
the back
a day.
off the thing and just eat all the candy
No,
and
you
then
just open all the
door?
flaps and eat all the chocolate in one sitting. I'm a
So you're
freaking
not
adult.
deceitful or stealthy. You just
No,
love the
you just do what you gotta do. But no, it's an advent calendar. You gotta do it through December the way that it's intended. Otherwise, Peter Parker would be very disappointed in you.
You are absolutely right. And if you, like the wonderful Becca Eller, want to send us something here to the studio, then you can send your physical mail to P.O. Box 36092, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73136. And we will gratefully receive anything. If there's a comic
Basically
book
anything.
you really want us to talk about, mail us a copy of that comic book. It really increases the chances that we'll discuss
That's
it.
true. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you have old VHSs that you would like Vinton to read out in dramatic
I will
fashion.
do that thing. If you are a graphic designer and you want to just make some of the VHSs I've read, I would just love you
That
forever.
would be amazing.
I can do that, actually. I should probably do
we could
that.
do t-shirts with the
We
flip the
could.
VHS for our
Oh
best
my
episodes.
gosh, yes.
All right, get in touch and let us know what your favorite Flip the VHS segments were.
And then we
listeners.
will make a shirt.
I like that idea.
Yes.
Maybe make
Or
two.
poster, like
Maybe
little
make one
posters.
with our favorite Flip the VHS
Yeah.
pose on it, and one that just says, "Hey Vinton, flip the VHS."
Yes, also very good.
That'll do it, I think, for this
I
week's
think
show.
so. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you. We hope that you're thankful for so many things in your life. We're thankful for you guys, our listeners. And so thank you so much. We will see you guys again in 2 weeks. We're taking next week off because of Thanksgiving. But until then, from Common Room Radio, I am Sarah K. Bazant.
I'm Alistair Stevens.
And I'm a snack hole. Excelsior!